home from a busy day and you go, oh, I don't want to prepare a meal. I don't want to worry about it. That's the perfect day to call Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, make the reservations, and have the best meal you have ever had. And it starts, of course, with the great, great service the second you walk in to either of the Ruth's Chris locations, Hotel Park City or downtown Salt Lake City. You are treated like a special guest, which indeed you are. And then, of course, the meal itself is spectacular, perfectly cooked, exactly the way you like it. And I always tell folks, make sure you save room for the dessert. There's nothing like a meal at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. Don't wait for a special occasion. Ruth's Chris is waiting for you now. Downtown Salt Lake City, Hotel Park City.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. And now save 50% on the new Sleep Number limited edition smart bed. Limited time. Exclusively at a Sleep Number store near you. Learn more at sleepnumber.com.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
You bought a house, or maybe you're building one, but it just isn't feeling like home. Not yet. AMC Building Materials has this undeniable knack for transforming a house into a home. Your home. How do they do that? They combine years of exceptional kitchen and bath creations with your ideas. In fact, customer satisfaction is their #1 priority. You know what you want. You know it's not going to be cookie cutter. And this is exactly where AMC shines. AMC delivers exceptional quality, bold-style kitchen and bath designs, along with their exceptional value and a timeline you'll love. Most projects are complete by the elite AMC professional installers in under 10 days. Immerse yourself in the beauty, function, and feel in person at the AMC Building Materials Showroom in Salt Lake City. Get directions and schedule your free estimate at amckitchenslc.org. AMC Building Materials, transforming your house into a home. amckitchenslc.org.
Emergency traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's limited time balance transfer bonus. And here's Michelle Rowe.
Delays, slow and go traffic northbound I-15 in spots from Linden all the way up to downtown. For drivers that are trying to get around at the point of the mountain, that's where the big trouble spot is due to a crash that is there and an earlier shutdown. So you're going to see some pretty sizable slowdowns as you leave 2100 North in Lehigh headed up to Draper. Mark your calendars for the 10th annual Salt Lake Off-Road and Outdoor Expo to be held at the Mountain America Expo Center February 28th through March 1st. For tickets and information, visit slorex.com. I'm Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
We'll see off and on snow through the rest of the day, a high of 39 degrees, and we warm up to 57 by Monday. Right now, we have snow and 33 degrees downtown. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top national story.
Our top story this morning is the story that Dave wants to talk about the most. Up to $5,000 federal refund checks to every taxpayer. Except for Dave doesn't call them a refund check. He calls them something else. Well, that's the pitch that Elon Musk is making as a payment back to Americans as his Doge team claims to have sliced $55 billion in spending.
That is, if it's true, if he really has cut $55 billion, that is one of the greatest accomplishments in recent history when it comes to government. Because government never cuts. All they do is spend, spend, spend.
What do you think about the $5,000 pitch per American taxpayer?
What he's saying is giving us a dividend check. I'm going to save you a bunch of money here, and I'm going to kick a little bit back to the American people.
Okay. A few years ago, we were calling them stimulus checks.
Okay.
But you're repackaging this as a dividend check?
Okay, that's what he's calling it. He's calling it a dividend check.
I see.
Okay, so the stimulus checks, that's the one I've rebranded. We know that the stimulus checks, the ones we got from March 2020 to March 2021, the average family of four got $11,400 in stimulus checks.
Because of the pandemic.
Yeah, the pandemic, those stimulus checks.
Camp on that for just a minute.
Okay.
How much?
$11,400. The average family of four.
All right.
So I know it makes you gulp, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's
it
a
makes
lot
you gulp.
of money.
So 11,400. That's what I'm calling them inflation checks. Those were full-on inflation checks. Let's stop calling them stimulus checks. That has absolutely turned out to be an inflation check. We know that. So would this be any different than the inflation checks? Would this dividend check, would this be any different than the inflation check? Yes. I think, and maybe I hope, or maybe I'm just trying to justify it because I want another check.
Why? What's your best argument for that?
Okay, here's the argument.
You
ready?
Got to give me a little more.
Okay, let's use round numbers. He says 55 billion. Let me just say, let's take that 55 billion at its face and say that's what he saved. If they've cut $55 billion, that's $55 billion that was going to be spent regardless. Like, that was money that had been approved by Congress. It had been distributed to all the various agencies. They were 100% going to spend that money, all $55 billion. So if he takes 20% of that and returns it to us, the people, right, then all of a sudden, that's what, $10 billion? He takes $55 billion in savings, but he's going to give us $10 billion of that. Well, we're still saving $45 billion that was going to be spent. And that's why it's different to me than the stimulus checks. The stimulus checks was just straight up, let's print money and let's give it to the people. This at least says we're going to cut a ton of money and then give you a few crumbs back.
So let me give you a couple of other options that some Republicans are talking about. According to CNN, that's one of the articles I've read, several of them, but according to some Republicans prefer to use that savings to reduce the national debt. We've been talking a lot about the debt. And Republicans are saying, let's use it to reduce the national debt. Now, for my argument, let's look at this from the flip side. I'm listening to and watching coverage of people losing their jobs, federal employees losing their jobs, a significant number. Either they took the buyout or they got word that their services are no longer needed. And many of those are newer employees, probationary employees. Probably took them quite a bit of time to get that job to begin with, because former federal employee here, I know it took me 4 months, to finally, after the application process and everything, to finally get that job. And they were looking at that likely as a lifetime career, that they were going to dedicate their livelihood to that job. So now we're laying all these people off or firing them or giving them severance to leave. And it seems to me like we're trying to save money over there, or that's what Elon Musk's plan is, save money over here by laying people off, no longer employing Americans as federal workers, many of them anyway. And then in return, they're sending me money back. Mm-hmm. It just seems like this really odd cycle that doesn't, right now at least, make a whole lot of sense to me.
This is straight out. The reason I think it's such a revolutionary idea, because the government doesn't work like the private sector. The private sector does this all the time. They will have a company, and if the company does very well, you get a dividend check. They'll give you a little bonus because the company is doing so well. That's what the government is trying to do. It's like, hey, we're doing so well saving you money. We're becoming more profitable. So we're going to let you participate or enjoy some of the benefits. And when you get people involved, if you start receiving a $5,000 check, now all of a sudden you're going to be watching Doge and be like, keep going, Elon. Keep going, baby. You're doing it. Right? You're making us profitable. That's what you would do with a CEO. A CEO has to often make cuts, a reduction in force to make the company more profitable. So this happens all the time, every single year in private business, where you have to fire some folks, you cut some costs here to make the company more profitable. And I think they're trying to take this mentality to the federal government. And the reason it feels so weird is because we've never done anything like this before.
Let me make another layer of my argument in just a moment. But I also want to ask our listeners to call in. Would you support a Doge dividend up to $5,000? And do you buy Dave's argument that this time it's different than the stimulus?
It sounds a little crazy,
You're
me
really
trying to justify it.
Trying to lean into that pitch.
But I see the difference.
And you're making an argument. We'll have to let our listeners weigh in if they think it's a good argument that this time it's different. Would you support a Doge dividend check of up to $5,000? There's a couple of more details that I want to go over in this reporting as we're learning more and more about this pitch. I want to also note that President Trump has actually talked about this idea.
There's even under consideration a new concept where we give 20% of the Doge savings to American citizens and 20% goes to paying down debt, because the numbers are incredible, Elon. We're thinking about giving 20% back to the American citizens and 20% down to pay back debt and pay down debt.
I also want to make note that we don't know or can't really verify at this point how much money Doge is actually saving. The claim is $55 billion, but in one report I read on CNN that there was a claim of an $8 billion savings in one area. It actually worked out to be $8 million. So I wonder if we're getting out a little over our skis to start making these pitches for dividend checks, stimulus checks, however you call that, whatever you call them. And I'd love to see a little more documentation on how much money is actually being saved, because what I don't want to do is have what feels like runaway inflation again.
For sure. We've been bitten by that.
Right. And we know, those stimulus checks went out, and then within a couple of months, we were seeing inflation up to 9% inflation year over year in the wake of those stimulus checks that went out in light of COVID-19. And that ended up costing us a lot of money in extra payments for things, right? I mean, so you're getting a $5,000 check or a stimulus check or a dividend check, whatever the amount is, and then you're paying more when you go to the grocery store. You're paying more when you buy a car. You're paying more for things that you would have paid less for without that stimulus check. So it's kind of biting you in the end, because you really don't have a lot of extra money because you're spending more here and there. So I want to make sure we don't go back to that place again. 801-575-TALK. Would you support a Doge dividend check? Do you buy Dave's argument that this time it's different than the stimulus checks that people got a couple of years ago?
801-575-TALK. Would love to hear from you. So if my wife and I have $10,000 in credit card debt, and we're trying to get out of credit card debt, and we say, we're going to pick up a little side hustle. We're going to start working. We're going to pay off this credit card debt. But once we get down $5,000, we're going to reward ourselves with a $1,000 cruise to incentivize us, to get us excited about paying down our credit card debt. Would that be a good investment? If I had $10,000 in credit card debt and we say, once we pay off the first $5,000, then we're going to go on a cruise. Would that be a reasonable investment? I think so. I think it would be, because that would motivate us to shave off $5,000 in our credit card debt. And then we say to ourselves, once we do that, all right, now, once we pay it all the way off, we're going to go on another trip where we pay ourselves back a little bit. Yeah, that is what Elon Musk and President Trump are trying to do. They're trying to incentivize us and say, hey, folks, listen, we're trying to save a ton of money, and it's going to be painful. You're not going to like working 80-hour weeks and a bunch of side hustles to pay down your credit card debt. But if you do that, if you are responsible, then you're going to get this cruise or you're going to get this dividend check. And that's how I see it differently than these inflation checks that they were sending, where they literally were not saving money anywhere to give us stimulus. They were straight up printing money to give us these stimulus checks.
You know what I worry about when it comes to credit card debt? All of the workers, federal workers who are losing their jobs are going to have to turn to their credit cards in order to survive month after month until they can find a new job. And I also want to remind you, many of them might be applying for jobless benefits, right? So they're going to be receiving jobless benefits, I'm assuming, okay, because they've lost their jobs. They might be eligible for that. So again, here we are in this cycle of layoffs, firings, severance packages for up to maybe 200,000 federal workers who will be out of a job. But in the meantime, we're talking about sending every American family $5,000. Now, maybe you would argue, and again, this isn't confirmed, this is just being pitched by Elon Musk as a way to incentivize Americans after they save money in spending. Maybe your argument would be this $5,000 would help sustain these families, but it's going to go through quite a process before it's ever approved, right? My understanding is it would have to go through Congress. We'd have to actually see first how much savings was actually realized. And so we might be quite some time out, if at all, that this money arrives in people's bank accounts. 801-575-TALK. James in South Weber. Do you agree with Dave? Do you support a Doge dividend check?
Yes, actually I do. I think it's a genius marketing plan, and for a couple of reasons. One, they say at the end of the day, people vote with their pocketbook, but the last 6 presidents have said they will, they'll reduce the debt, and at $36 trillion in debt, I think most economists say we have about 12 years before we run out of money, and so I think this is kind of a genius bipartisan thing to get people on board to say, okay, well, if we get 5,000, as Dave was saying, then yes, go ahead and cut more of the fat. And so I agree with it.
Thanks, James. More calls.
Let's jump out to Darren in Tooele. Darren, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a bad idea. It's when companies pay dividends, it's because they're profitable. Our government's not profitable. And secondly, I see this all the time in finance. People want to pay off their credit cards so they go refinance their home.
Oh, you broke up, but you were making an excellent point. Sounds like you're talking about, people wanting to pay off their credit card. So what they do in exchange for that is they go and refinance their home, and then they have a $10,000 credit card balance baked into their mortgage payment, and they end up paying interest on that $10,000 credit card balance for 30 years. I'm going to assume that's what you were talking about, Darren, but if you can reconnect with us, please call us back, 801-575-TALK.
Let's jump out to Amber in Harriman. Amber, what do you think? Line 5, do we have Amber?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, how's it going? What do you think, Amber?
Good. Dave, I agree with you mostly. My family's worked in the private sector for years, and we've had to deal with layoffs in software industry like almost every couple of years, and it's painful and it's hard. I think you have to be prepared for that. You guys talk about emergency funds all the time. I think the Doge check might be a little too soon until we kind of see how everything plays out with all the cuts as the incentive. So I think what they're doing is smart. I think having to deal with layoffs is hard, but like you said, that's the way the private sector runs.
Thank you, Amber.
I wonder if, given the choice, if you could take this $5,000 per American household or per American taxpayer and say, you know what, we're going to make sure we shore up Social Security. We're going to make sure Social Security doesn't hit a wall by 2033. If we ask the question that way, if people would be on board with that. Because I think as you look to your parents' Social Security checks, your Social Security checks, boy, when you get to be 62, 64, 60, whatever it is, when you become eligible, it can be a scary proposition to think, oh, you're going to only get $1,000 a month. You're going to get half of what you thought you were going to get.
My problem with that line of thinking, though, is it still keeps the money funding the federal government. And I think it's the bird in hand is better than two in the bush, right? We want to inspire people and get them on board with this austerity, with this cutting of the federal budget, which we haven't done for decades and decades.
Hi, Rebecca. You'd rather see the National Park Service fully staffed, huh? Do we have Rebecca? Okay. Hi, Richard. Rebecca wants to see the National Park Service fully staffed. Would you want to see a dividend check in your mailbox?
Hell no. I think this is condo salesman BS where Donald Trump's trying to buy the vote. We've got serious problems, and saying we've cut, a couple billion isn't going to solve the issue. 80% of the national debt is caused by Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and military spending. All of those things Trump will not touch, will not cut. So we've still got massive problems down the years. And to say, hey, I'm going to give you $5,000 back when he's gone through and broken all these departments that will need to be rebuilt, to me, it's just trying to buy the vote.
Well,
but that's my opinion.
Richard, thank you. I appreciate the call. I'm not sure which vote he's buying. He's done after these 4 years, right? And that's part of the power of not having to run again, is you can make some of these unpopular decisions. And one thing I would say, I'm with you. I didn't think he would ever cut Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare. He said that a million times. But when you said the military, I would totally agree with you, except that, you know what the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth just said? He told the Pentagon, I want to cut 8% of the budget every single year for the next 5 years. He's talking about hundreds of billions of dollars in military spending cuts. That was shocking to me, which makes me think maybe they're serious and they're not just playing partisan politics.
We're going to continue that conversation about the looming military cuts that Hegseth is calling on. He wants a report from heads of the different facilities throughout the U.S. military, some $50 billion next year cut from the budget. And in light of Utah's largest employer being Hill Air Force Base in Layton, let's talk about what we know so far and what we don't know so far about Hegseth's call for military cuts.
It's a week of snowy weather ahead, and that can mean a slower drive when you're heading to work or on your way home. We try to make this easy. Get the latest traffic report and updated weather, one after the other. That's traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the 9s, mornings and afternoons on KSL News Radio.
If you've ever experienced running out of hot water before your shower was done or hard water spots on dishes and fixtures, I've got a deal you might be interested in. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and you probably already know that a tankless water heater and a water softener solve both issues. If you've ever thought about looking into getting a tankless water heater, here's the deal I was talking about. Through the end of February, we're including a free water softener with every new tankless water heater we install. The best part of this deal might be that you never have to worry about being the last one to the shower again, or that you don't have to waste the money keeping 40 to 50 gallons of water hot 24/7. To take advantage of this deal, call Any Hour Services before the end of February. The visit's free and there's no obligation to buy. If you decide to have us install a new tankless water heater, we'll throw in the water softener for free. That's right, a free water softener when you purchase a tankless water heater. Pick up the phone and call Any Hour Services right now for all the details. 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Discover the timeless value at Duke's Jewelers, a local treasure since 1948. Whether you're searching for a unique engagement ring or need expert watch repair, Duke's has been serving the community for over 75 years. It's the perfect time to visit and explore the wide selection of custom designs and quality gemstones. The skilled designers at Duke's can bring your dream piece to life, while experienced jewelers handle repairs and modifications in-house. Duke's Jewelers takes pride in value pricing, ensuring you receive the best prices every day. Need an appraisal? The Duke's Jewelers AGS certified gemologist is here to help. Whether it's hand or machine engraving, or redesigning old favorites into something new, get personalized service for every occasion. Visit Duke's Jewelers and experience the difference of locally operated expertise and dedication. Duke's Jewelers in Springfield, Utah.
The system is rigged against you. There's a lot of money to be made keeping you overweight and unhealthy.
At Soda Weight Loss, we have one goal, and that's to help you let go of the weight for good, without shots, without drugs, without hunger.
So I lost 25 pounds. I was never hungry. It was very, very easy. I couldn't believe how fast the weight came off.
With Soda Weight Loss, you get real results that will last your whole life.
I am down 26 pounds in 3 weeks. Feels great. I fit into my clothes again.
Soda Weight Loss is the #1 weight loss center in America for client satisfaction and results. And we have the proof at sodaweightloss.com.
Right now, for a limited time, 2 people can start with soda for the price of 1. For new clients only.
Double the reward, double the motivation, half the cost.
Get healthy. Beat the system. Visit sodaweightloss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com. Soda Weight Loss is, say it with me, state of the art.
You hear that? That's the sound your new water makes just before it gets to your bottle. It's the purest, cleanest, and healthiest water you can possibly drink. At Little Spring Water, it's simply nature in a bottle. Little Spring Water is a family-owned and operated bottled water company right here in Utah, nestled in a beautiful canyon in Bear Lake. This spring has been in the family for 5 generations, and now it can be in your home or office as well. No chemicals, no additives, just pure, clean, healthy water. And because Little Spring Water is local, you can get it at a fraction of the cost at your favorite grocery store. But did you know you can have it delivered right to the office? Give your employees something they can enjoy day after day. And while it's a great way to show appreciation, you should be warned. Once they get a taste of Little Spring Water, they won't ever want to go without it. It's just that good. Little Spring Water. Nature in a bottle. LittleSpringWater.com.
Jeff Kaplan. When you're online, that's sometimes a source of fourth-hand information. Somebody does the reporting. Another website Googles, they find it, they rewrite it, and by the time you read it, you know the old game telephone. But KSL is a source of primary information. We have reporters on the street. They're out in the field finding out the details. And the difference between online and KSL News Radio, night and day.
Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News, 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story this hour, rain and snow expected to persist for several more hours. Lisa Verzella with the National Weather Service says a lot of areas can expect to keep seeing a rain-snow mix, while others, especially those at higher elevations, will see snow.
Elevation dependent, but as far as the valleys go, it looks like things are tapering off by late afternoon.
KSL meteorologist Matt Johnson says we could see scattered storms this evening before the system completely clears out. He's predicting a trace to 3 inches of snow in the valleys and up to a foot across the northern mountains, with areas north of Salt Lake City being hit the hardest. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. This year's multiple high-profile airplane crashes are causing some people to be more concerned about their safety in the air. ABC's Jim Ryan.
They seem to come rapid fire.
We're learning more about the fiery plane crash in North Philadelphia.
There was a giant firewall down the side. I could actually feel the heat.
67 people lost their lives here.
Only elevating deep-seated anxiety. But remember,
fear loves itself. It will try to keep itself around as much as possible.
Psychologist Jennifer Dragonette urges her clients to focus not on the flight, but on what you'll do when you get there.
So trying to shift our attention to something else can be a really effective form of self-care.
Jim Ryan, ABC News.
Your money at this moment. The markets are struggling this morning. The Dow is now down 614, which is 1 4/10%. We're at 44,013. Coming up, that storm will be with us for most of the day today, moving out tonight. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:32.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
One of my favorite things when I was on the Salt Lake City fat loss diet is just how I felt. If you're wondering, like, well, were you feeling hungry, Dave? When you were losing all that weight, were you just feeling hungry? No, I was shocked at how full and satiated I was. It's amazing when you eat decent food, like healthy, real food out there, how much you can eat. You can basically eat until you are full. And with Salt Lake City Fat Loss, I was seeing some incredible results. 57 pounds in 60 days on the Salt Lake City Fat Loss program. I lost 25 pounds in the first 3 weeks. So it was an incredible way to lose weight in a healthy way, without surgery, without injections, no insane exercise programs. It wasn't so complicated that I had to do this weird point counting calculation every time. No, it was just lose a bunch of weight, follow the pretty simple rules, and then see the results every single day when you get on that scale. So if you're interested, you're going to get an extra $200 off the program right now in February if you sign up with Salt Lake City Fat Loss. Just go to the website, slcfatloss.com.
Beehive Plumbing now offers premier service. 10 years of coverage on both parts and labor. Call or visit beehivepremier.com for expert experience every time.
Emergency traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's limited time balance transfer bonus. And here's Heather Kelly.
Well, the snow continues to come down everywhere across the Wasatch Front and the Wasatch Back. And for those of you in Provo Canyon, if you are westbound as you come out of the Sundance Ski Resort area and try to head toward the mouth of the canyon, you are at a crawl. We had a crash that stopped all lanes of traffic for a good 10-15 minutes. Now only one lane is open, so it is moving, but not very fast. You've got chains or four-wheel drive required for Big and Little Cottonwood Canyons, and any road that you try to get on, whether it's a city street or a freeway, they're either wet, slushy, or snow-covered. Tax problems keeping you up at night? Get the IRS off your back. Let Utah tax attorney Jordan Wilcox stop IRS harassment now. Visit endtaxworry.com. That's endtaxworry.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
We'll see off and on snow through the rest of the day, a high of 39 degrees. We warm up by the weekend, though. Monday looks like 57 degrees for a high. Right now, we do have snow and 33 degrees downtown. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Well, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is ordering the United States military, Dave, to prepare for major budget cuts. Just been fishing around the web to figure out how much. NPR, USA Today, others reporting $50 billion in programs that could be cut next year. Now, I want to also mention, and I read this one in USA Today, that it seems like the direction is from like low impact and low priority Biden era programs and to redirect those funds to President Donald Trump's priorities.
I am absolutely dumbfounded and shocked that this administration targeted or looked at the military and said, you know what, we want to hit you too. Because you could almost make the argument that some of these cuts that we've seen have been in the president's crosshairs since the campaign. He's talked about getting rid of the Department of Education. One thing that I never expected was cuts to the military. Now, the military receives the most funding of anyone in the government outside of Social Security and Medicaid, Medicare. $841 billion a year. And he goes in there and he tells Pete Hegseth, his Secretary of Defense, I want 8% cuts for the next 5 years. That's not 8% over 5 years. That's 8% this year, 8% next year, and the year after that. That is hundreds of billions of dollars of savings.
So the first thing I thought of this morning when I saw that is I thought of Hill Air Force Base, state's largest employer.
For sure.
And so in that vein, I want to talk about what we know and what we don't know. And I want to make it very clear. And I'm going to repeat myself until you're sick of me repeating myself. We don't know if, how, when, or at all that these cuts could impact our state's military, like gem and Hill Air Force Base. We don't know. But I would imagine that we will be closely watching that. I will be closely watching that. But let's start with what we do know. about these cuts. And let's begin with ABC News senior political correspondent Rachel Scott.
President Trump's Budget Act's preparing to swing at the largest agency in the federal government, with deep cuts at the Pentagon now on the horizon. Sources tell ABC News Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has asked top Pentagon officials to draw up plans for a sweeping 8% cut. The department hasn't seen cuts this deep in more than a decade.
If you were to cut the military's budget by 8% this year, that would be $67 billion. Let that settle in. So far, DOGE is claiming that they have saved $55 billion with all of their cuts over the last month. This one singular cut would be $67 billion, cuts to the military.
Again, I'm going to repeat, we don't know if this will impact Hill Air Force Base up in Layton. We don't. But let me tell you what we do know. We do know, because I covered this heavily in the 90s as the military reporter at Channel 4 News across the street. We do know that Hill Air Force Base found itself on a potential list for closures when the base realignment committee started out of D.C., started to meet. And Hill Air Force Base survived. So we do know that we have had success proving Hill Air Force Base's priority in the military equation. We have the 388th Fighter Wing there. We have the 419th Fighter Wing there. So we do know that it is one of the crown jewels of the Air Force and of the military. What we also know is that Hill Air Force Base is significant in terms of economic impact. We were looking through Hill Air Force Base's own website today, and the economic impact to the area in 2023, and this is on their website. You can look this up yourself. I mean, do it. Because this is really important to our economy. $11 billion annually of economic impact.
That is so incredible. If you look 10 years ago, the economic impact was about $3 billion. And now, in 2023, it was $11 billion. That is a staggering impact. That's an enormous impact into our economy.
27,000 employees. Majority of those are civilian employees. The last numbers we were able to see, I think it was military personnel from 2021, Dave, was about 5,000 military personnel compared
active
to duty compared to 16,000 civilian. And you asked me the question in our meeting this morning, are you surprised that the civilian staff outnumbers the military staff? No, I am not. I was at Hill Air Force Base. It was my home away from home for 5 years as the military reporter here in Utah for Channel 4. And it is very important. It's critical to the mission. Those civilian employees are mission critical. When you have the 419th and the 388th Fighter Wings based at Hill Air Force Base, let's also remember we have another crown jewel in the military, which is the Utah Test and Training Range out in the West Desert. They do a lot of training for wartime.
We can bomb a lot of empty desert out there.
Yeah, so we have that out there. We've had that for years, and that is important to the mission. Annual payroll for Hill Air Force Base, $1.6 billion. So that's
just in payroll.
Yeah, that's a lot of money going back into our economy.
The expenditures, it's not just payroll. Oftentimes, payroll is like the most expensive part of running your business. That's not necessarily the case at Hill Air Force Base. I'm thinking of the F-35, the Lightning II. The F-35 costs $100 million to build. We have 78 of those. We have 78 F-35s at Hill Air Force Base. Every hour they're in the air, it costs about $35,000 per hour to fly the F-35. So when you look up in the sky and you see them flying across and flying around, you're like, $1,000 there, $1,000 there, $1,000 there. It's very, very expensive, which I'm not criticizing. I understand. Running in the military, training in the military is extremely expensive. But it explains why we spend over $800 billion annually on the military.
Dave and I talking about looming military cuts. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth has asked the different facilities to bring to him proposals for cuts in short order. It seems like he wants them ASAP. Could amount to $16 billion in just the first year. I've heard
67.
$67 billion. I've heard between $50 and $67 billion. We're talking about what we know and what we don't know about Hill Air Force Base. We don't know if Hill Air Force Base will be impacted. But what we do know is our very own Senator John Curtis recently paid a visit there. He was there last week. And he said, quote, Hill Air Force Base is a cornerstone of our national defense, playing a vital role in sustaining the readiness of our armed forces and strengthening of our strategic deterrence capabilities. He said he met with the airmen and civilian personnel who make the mission possible, and their expertise in engineering and logistics management is ensuring that some of our nation's most advanced military assets, to your point, Dave, like the F-35, Lightning II, the F-16, Fighting Falcon, remain cutting edge and operational and mission ready, and that he's committed to ensuring Hill has the resources it needs to maintain its role in bolstering our air power and safeguarding our national security. And then additionally posted this video clip, which I found this morning on YouTube.
I had an amazing morning today at Hill Air Force Base, and as you know, it's such an important part of our economy here in Utah, but more importantly, our national defense. Their work on the Sentinel program, the F-35, and so many other things they do here. I'm walking away with this incredible impression of an organization that knows what they're doing, knows what their mission is, and I'll sleep better at night because of it. Thanks to everybody at Hill Air Force Base and all of those around this area that support them.
But if the Pentagon truly does cut 8% of the military, it's hard to think that everybody wouldn't be affected in some way, either through training hours in the sky or personnel on the ground. I can't imagine how cutting out $67 billion in the budget wouldn't affect us in some way.
Our producer, Caitlin, has put out calls to our congressional delegation to see if we can get more from them on what they know, and also our team of reporters and producers will continue to follow that developing story. We've got some breaking news to report. Watching the monitors here in the broadcast studio here at KSL News Radio, Senator Mitch McConnell, the announcement is that he will not be seeking re-election next year, Dave.
Yeah, that's perhaps not totally shocking. We have seen over the last couple of years, Senator McConnell's health has deteriorated. He's had a couple of episodes where, it kind of seems like he's maybe lost his train of thought, zoned out. But Senator McConnell has decided not to seek re-election next year.
Boy, right after the holidays, everyone needs a little cash, right?
Oh, yes.
We have great news for you. Right now, UCCU, Utah Community Credit Union, will pay you for your auto loan and credit balances. So all you have to do is just transfer your auto loan or your credit card balance to UCCU. And on top of giving you a low interest rate, which will save you money, UCCU will give you 1% cash back up to $250 on every loan you transfer.
Amanda, as soon as I heard about this, I said, I'm in this exact situation. I actually had to have 2 loans to get my car a year ago. Yeah. Long story. Got it consolidated into one, and they paid me 1% back for each thing. I've got 1 payment now instead of 2. It's so much easier, and it took me basically an hour. I just went straight to the website. I applied. They said, you got to send me these documents. I did, and all of a sudden, within a couple of days, I had it all set.
This is how easy they are to work with, always looking for ways to help you and your family. You can find out more on the UCCU mobile banking app or just go to uccu.com/transfer. Utah Community Credit Union. You're going to love where you bank.
Workdays can be unpredictable, but your workwear shouldn't be. With the Cintas Apparel Plus program, you'll have freshly laundered garments for everyone on your team delivered every week. Cintas has workwear for just about any job imaginable, with high-performance fabrics and an uncompromising fit that stretches and moves with you. Don't leave looking and feeling good to chance. Visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. And now save 50% on the new Sleep Number Limited Edition Smart Bed. Limited time. exclusively at a Sleep Number store near you. Learn more at sleepnumber.com.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Eye on the Hill 2025 special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
Well, on the heels of our discussion about Hill Air Force Base, let's fly up to Capitol Hill right now in Utah to figure out if lawmakers are still weighing tax cuts. Deseret News is reporting the revenue is lower than earlier projected. So I think a lot of us are wondering, will we see a state income tax cut? And I think if you're on Social Security, you're wondering, will we see the Social Security tax, a state income tax on Social Security go away?
And that has been a very interesting storyline for the last several years. We've talked to Senate President Stuart Adams several times, and it was like, this is the year of the tax cut. And then the next year it was like, this is the year of the tax cut again. And again, and again, and again, and it just kept tacking on agains because we just kept giving tax cuts. Well, at some point, you run out of that revenue, right? You've spent all your money, you don't have a surplus, and it seems like tax revenues may be lower this year than was originally projected.
Now, let's remember, too, we had Governor Cox on the air with us not too long ago, Dave. I think it was just before the session started, and he talked about hoping and pitching to the legislature to eliminate that Social Security tax.
So I think it makes a tremendous amount of sense. The average filer would get about $1,000 back this year. That's meaningful. $1,000 is something. You know, we could do another incremental income tax cut where all of us get $15, $20, or we could help our grandparents with $1,000. I think that makes more sense.
And what's unique about that is we have been cutting the tax rate, and we'll cut it by 0.1%. And as you said, it saves you $20 or $30 a year. Well, the Social Security tax is not for everybody. It's just for, obviously, those gathering Social Security. Holly Richardson joins us right now, editor with Utah Policy. How much lower our revenues right now than expected?
It's actually not that much.
Okay.
It's more than you would have, I think, in your couch cushions, right? But it's $112 million less from revenue estimates. So Utah still has a surplus. It still has more money than they had last year. It's just at a slower rate. It grew at a slower rate than they were hoping. So one of the things, of course, that happens in Utah is that the legislature will balance the budget. And that means they will not spend more than they actually have. And so the conversation on the Hill, of course, right now is going to be, as you were already pointing out, are we going to have another income tax cut? There's two proposals on the table that one would cut it 0.05% and the other one would cut it 0.1%. And then there's also the eliminating the state income tax on Social Security for our seniors. So those are still on the table.
Okay. I think our seniors who receive Social Security will be relieved to hear that, Holly.
Well, you don't know what's going to get cut until the end of the session, right? And what taxes are going to go forward or tax cuts are going to go forward.
But there's still a chance if it's still on the table, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Right. We don't know for sure until the final bell rings on the last day of the 2025 session. But it's still a possibility. As somebody who literally went to the accountant's office this week and got the bad news about what I owe in taxes, I thought about the state income tax, and I thought about other states that don't collect state income tax, and I know that has been brought up on the Hill and talked about, like, how do we compete as a state continuing to attract residents or not lose residents because we charge state income tax and our neighbors next door don't?
That's a discussion. I don't think it has much traction this year for sure, but I think one of the issues is if you get rid of the state income tax, you've got to increase tax in another area, right? You can't just say, okay, we're just going to cut income tax without replacing it somewhere. So maybe it's property tax and your property taxes go through the roof, or maybe it's sales tax starts to increase quite a bit. I mean, they have to make up the shortfall somewhere. So yes, you can live in a state with no income tax, but your property taxes are going to be through the roof relative relatively speaking.
Holly, I'm glad you brought that up because I'm looking at the state treasurer's website right now and looking at how much money we do bring in income tax. And last year, in 2023, we brought in $6.4 billion in income tax. So to your very point, if we were to remove that income tax, then you've got to make up $6.4 billion and redistribute it through some other technique. And obviously, the government is not going to run on less money. I think we've proven that, or seldom will.
That's right.
Well, I guess they'll be running on $100 million less this year.
Yeah, and, relatively speaking to the legislature, it's not that much. I mean, you see some legislative leaders saying, oh, this is socks and underwear. And it's like, you know what? It's all relative in some ways, because when I was in the legislature, and it's been 14 years, but our budget was $11 billion, right? And now it's like over 30. So it's tripled in 14 years. So we're spending a lot more money as a state. And so, I mean, I'm not saying we shouldn't spend the money, but it's significantly more than when I was a legislator. So it's all relative.
Holly, thanks for reminding us that you served in the legislature. I think that's important for us to remind our listeners as well. You've been there. You've had to do that. And now you're the editor of Utah Policy. Holly Richardson on the Hill. When's the final bell ring this year, Holly?
Midnight, March 7th. So 2 weeks from tomorrow.
So if our seniors who are listening who collect Social Security checks are curious about that Social Security tax, they'll want to definitely stay tuned. We'll continue to follow that angle of this story. Thanks so much, Hall.
And a conversation for another day, Holly. I want to talk about how in 14 years we've tripled the state spending budget. That'll be a conversation down the road, but when we look at revenues coming in a little bit lower than projections, just to give you an idea, what we gathered in taxes last year was $16.1 billion. So that we come in $100 million less, as Holly had said, that's socks and underwear, but it's not a lot, but it's still less. But I guess I didn't realize that we collect over $16 billion in taxes in this state.
Yeah.
State taxes. That's not even your federal taxes, folks.
Don't I know that? I'm still reeling from Tuesday night's meeting with the CPA. Straight ahead, we've got a special half hour lined up to you. Speaking of nickels and dimes, I'm going to tell you how to nickel and dime your way to an almost inflation-proof budget. I mean, I don't control inflation, but I do control my family budget. I've got a long list of how people are saving chunks of money. Everything from making their own laundry detergent, that's right, to the paper plate hack, I think is brilliant. All that straight ahead in a special half hour when we go right on the money.
KSL offers the best daily newsletter in the state. It's the 3 things you need to know. Every weekday, we deliver quality and relevant content to your inbox. No ads, no spam, just the 3 things you need to know to be informed about the world around you. Subscribe today. Visit KSLNewsRadio.com or text the word inbox to 57500. That's inbox to 57500.
If you have a family member that is struggling with addiction, just know you're not alone. There are millions of Americans that have been impacted by addiction, and we talk all the time about the fentanyl problem in this country. So I'm glad that we know about Renaissance Ranch and some of the great support services they have to offer.
Well, these free online classes, you can take them anytime you want. They're free, like I said, and they're open to the public. So it's really easy to sign up for one of these classes and so convenient. Because think about this. When you log on to RenaissanceRanch.com, you can just log on from your living room, your car, if that's what works for you.
And the reason that Renaissance Ranch offers these free classes is because they know the research. And the research has shown that when you have family members and loved ones that are involved in the recovery process, the chances of a positive outcome skyrocket.
That's right. These are faith-based, clinically proven for more than 20 years.
Learn more about these free online classes. Again, open to the public, RenaissanceRanch.com.
When you want a brand new kitchen, there's nothing to it. There's a brand new way to do it. 3-day kitchen and bath.
Do you love your house but hate your kitchen? If you want your old kitchen or bath completely new again, totally remodeled and updated to your taste, style, and specifications in just 3 days, call 3-Day Kitchen and Bath. And we mean a complete custom remodel from floor to ceiling in just 3 days, including a 100% satisfaction guarantee with our quality and craftsmanship where you don't pay. No hassle, no stress. We even bring our mobile showroom to you, and you'll be our guest at the Marriott while we work our magic creating your dream kitchen or bath. Call 3-Day Kitchen and Bath for your free copy of the Kitchen and Bath Remodeling Guide, plus $500 off a complete bathroom remodel with a kitchen and a free design consultation.
It's about time.
3 days or less
at 3-Day Kitchen and Bath.
At JCW's, we think tipping might be getting a little out of hand. Like when you're asked to tip at the register before you've even been served, or when you're at the yogurt shop and find yourself serving yourself. And don't even get us started on frosted tips making a comeback. That's why at JCW's, when you pay for a 3rd-pound ranch bacon cheeseburger, that's what you pay. And no one at the register is going to stare longingly at you while you awkwardly maneuver through the tip screen for food you don't even have yet. Honestly, we're just happy to see you at any of our 5 locations in Provo, South Jordan, Lehigh, Harriman, and American Fork. So come on in and enjoy some quality time and great food with family and friends. And we promise, we won't be pushing you for a tip.
Hey, this is Chris with JCW's, and we just want to say thank you, and especially to our loyal customers. We want you to know that at JCW's, your business is all the tip we need. JCW's, quality and a lot of it.
Hey you, I knew I'd find you back in the same aisle. What are you looking for today? More fiber, more laxatives, more of the same ways to manage your constipation? Look, if your constipation with belly pain keeps coming back, you may have irritable bowel syndrome with constipation, or IBS-C. Ask your doctor how Linzess can help you get ahead of it.
Linzess linaclotide is a prescription medicine that treats IBS-C in adults. It's not a laxative. It's a once-daily pill that helps you get ahead of your symptoms. It's proven to help you have more frequent and complete bowel movements and helps relieve overall abdominal symptoms, belly pain, discomfort, and bloating. These symptoms were studied in combination, not individually. Do not give Linzess to children less than 2. It may harm them. Do not take Linzess if you have a bowel blockage. Get immediate help if you develop unusual or severe stomach pain, especially with bloody or black stools. The most common side effect is diarrhea, sometimes severe. If it's severe, stop taking Linzess and call your doctor right away. Other side effects include gas, stomach area pain, and swelling. Learn more at linzess.com or call 1-800-LINZESS.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story this hour is breaking news. Senator Mitch McConnell announced this morning he will not seek re-election next year, ending a decades-long tenure. The Kentucky Republican has chosen his 83rd birthday today to share his decision to retire when his current term ends in January of 2027. McConnell is the longest-serving Senate party leader in U.S. history. There have been around 30 crashes as of 8 a.m. this morning as people make their way to work on a wet commute. The rain and snow are expected to continue through the afternoon today. The storm will calm down and clear out by tonight. We could see up to 3 inches of snow in some valley locations. KSL meteorologist Matt Johnson says areas of north of Salt Lake City are expected to get hit the hardest. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Zelensky is expected to meet with President Trump's special envoy for Ukraine, retired General Keith Kellogg, in Kyiv today. ABC's Louis Martinez is at the Pentagon.
Earlier this week, we saw those talks develop in Saudi Arabia between the United States and Russia, the first contact in over 3 years. And I think what the Ukrainians are looking for is a commitment from the United States that they will have a seat at the table eventually. That's been the main criticism.
A Kyiv official says a news conference between Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and President Donald Trump's Ukraine envoy was canceled today at the request of the U.S. Your money at this moment, the markets are struggling. The Dow is down 655 now. That's 1.5%. We're back under 44,000 at 43,964. Coming up, this storm will continue through this afternoon. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:02. Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
The RV party is still going on through this week only in the KZRV Megatent at Motorsportsland's Mill Creek store. Check out hundreds of the newest RVs, all with extended event pricing. See the latest RV accessories and enjoy exciting activities including kids' movie night, RV seminars, on-site radio events, yard games, food trucks, live performances by the WMCA Masters Band, Tangent, and the youth band Goose Juice. Plus, take your last chance at over $30,000 in prizes. Event sponsors include KZRV, owned by Cummins, Suburban RV Appliances, Lion Energy, Lippert, Utah Big Game Outfitters, Equalizer, and many more. Free admission, free seminars, and free activities. Check out motorsportsland.com for details. Adventure awaits at Motorsportsland's Megatent RV event through this week only.
Let Motorsportsland help you get away.
4001 South State.
If you're in the house and put a hand near a window, it shouldn't feel cold. But if it does, you need to call Advanced Window Products because right now you'll get an extra $2,500 off on 10 windows or more. We're talking about the best windows in the world. Now, to the naked eye, all glass looks the same. But when Advanced Windows installs your triple-coated, argon-filled and sealed double-pane insulated glass and custom frames, your energy bill is going to plunge winter and summer. And your home gets a fresh new look. They'll create frames in any style and color on windows built right here in Utah. They're meant for Utah homes, so buy local with an additional $2,500 off if you call now. Advanced Window Products has options for any budget, including 60-month, 0% financing. So save on that heating bill and lock in the $2,500 off. You don't even have to pay now. Just make the call. Advanced Window Products, 801-850-9100. It's 801-850-9100 or go to advancedwindows.com.
Paid for by government. Now is the time to fill your vault with Morgan Silver Bars. Grab your piece of America's silver legacy with this special offer. These spectacular shining silver bars featuring a crisp image of the iconic Morgan Silver Dollar, a legendary coin that has captivated collectors for generations. Call now to secure 1-ounce silver bars minted in 99.9% pure silver and made in the USA. Don't miss out on this special deal, regularly priced at $49.95, but for a limited time, only $39.95. Save $10 per silver bar. Limit of 25 bars per customer. The more you buy, the more you save. Up to $250 in savings and free shipping on every order. Plus, with qualifying orders, you'll receive a free Morgan Silver Dollar. That's a $59.95 value, free. Call 1-800-937-4707 now to secure your 1-ounce Morgan Silver Bars for only $39.95. That's 1-800-937-4707.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Emergency traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's limited time balance transfer bonus. And here is Heather Kelly.
Well, we don't have any excessive delays anywhere across the Wasatch Front, but the weather is going to slow you down no matter where you're going. Right now, we've got snow plows heading down southbound I-15 from Layton into Kaysville, and that is keeping traffic at about 30 miles an hour that entire stretch. You also have major delays trying to get into any of the canyons, especially Big and Little Cottonwood, where both chains and four-wheel drive are required. Snow continues to come down out in Tooele County. In fact, the visibility is greatly reduced right now. A lot of slush coming up from the tires, and we have a car that's spun out eastbound I-80 just as you merge on from SR 36. And it is so far off the roadway, they must have been going way too fast for the road conditions. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today's storm will last through this afternoon. Snow off and on throughout the day. It should move out by tonight. Today's high 39 degrees, and we clear out tomorrow and start warming up. By the time we get to Monday, we're up to 57 degrees for a high. Right now, we do have snow and 33 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories. On KSL News Radio, Right on the Money. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
It's one of my favorite things we do on this show. We go right on the money. I love it. I love talking about saving money. And that's what we're going to do. Short-term ways to save on your budget. Nickel and diming your way to almost like fighting inflation. I know we don't control inflation, but if inflation stays at like 2% or 3% or gets back to 2%, stays at 3%, these are household items and things that you can do to save, I think, a lot of money every single month.
So I have time. I know not everyone has time, but listen, I just kicked 3 of my 4 kids out to the curb. They're all, living their lives. So I've got more time on my hands than I've had in decades.
And more money.
And oddly enough, as soon as I kick them out, I have more money. Yeah. So, okay. I'm listening. I've got some time on my hands. So if I want to save a little extra dollars here, walk me through.
All right. Let's start
Top of the list.
Let's start with the reason behind why I went down this rabbit hole, and that is KSL investigative reporter Matt Gephardt. Matt, you and Sloan Schrag, one of my favorites in the newsroom. You guys teamed up, and you literally saved money making your own laundry detergent, which I found to be so incredibly wild because I'm frugal. I don't know if I make my own laundry detergent frugal, but the savings was pretty incredible. Talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what kind of laundry detergent I suppose you use. But for me, who's been a user of Tide Pods in my house for years, I went from, and I never really paid attention to it. I knew it was expensive, but I never paid much attention to it. I was going from about 40 cents per load, and I got it down as low as about 3 cents per load by making my own soap.
No, where do you find this recipe, and what lab do you create it in? Is it in your own kitchen? I mean, how does that work? I've never made my own laundry detergent. This is a stretch for me.
Yeah, well, the lab was my home kitchen blender. And then a 1-gallon jug, and it really couldn't have been simpler. It was we took a little baking soda, we took a little. The answer to your question of where we found the recipe was online. We found a little borax. We found a little. Now I have a high efficiency washer, so you got to be careful not to have it be too sudsy, otherwise the lines can get clogged. So I paid a little bit more for what's called Castile soap or Bastille soap. Forgive me, I can't remember. It's either a C or a B, but it's a special kind of soap they have in the beauty section that's not particularly sudsy. And you basically took it, you mixed it together, you added some boiling water, you let it sit overnight. It gelled up, kind of came out almost looking like one of those pods that I used to use, and it worked. It worked pretty good.
Well, I also noticed in your reporting that if you don't want to make your own laundry soap in your home blender in your kitchen, that if you use extra detergent, which I use all the time, I buy that huge 128-ounce bottle of extra. Like basically, it's like lifting weights when you're walking that thing through the store. Yeah. It's 5 cents per load. So if you compare that to the price of what you were paying for Tide Pods, that's a 35-cent per load savings, and I like that.
No question. And also, I want to be clear. The Tide Pod worked. We put it to the test, and the Tide Pod worked better. Now these Tide Pods also have other things in it, like Oxy and stuff. But for me, I will continue to use the more expensive stuff on my son's baseball uniform, for example. But on the and probably on towels, but on the other stuff, on the T-shirts that I just wore to the gym or what have you, where I want to get it clean, but it doesn't have a bunch of stains I need lifted out. I'm going to start saving some money in my house.
So it's 3.5 cents per load with your own homemade laundry detergent, 40 cents per load with Tide Pods, and if you don't want to make your own, extra detergent was a nickel per load. I love it. Yeah. I love the comparison. It gives people an idea of how they can save money, and it's significant amount for, that adds up. That adds up, especially when you're doing as much laundry as you are.
No question about it. And I'll tell you this too. Like we're doing a story tonight on KSL 5 News at 10 o'clock that's talking about how we as Americans are paying more towards our credit card debt than we ever have in our entire life. And we are also falling further and further and further behind because we just cannot keep up with the price of things that are going up. So it is time to take inflation into our own hands, or we're all going to be in some real serious trouble here.
Wow, Matt.
Matt, thank you for joining us. Yeah. That's a great tip. I hadn't realized that the homemade versus the Tide Pods is 100 times more expensive. I mean, that is incredible. Or what is that? 10 times more expensive. That is, I'll be honest, and I don't use just one Tide Pod. With the big load, I'll throw a couple Tide Pods in there. Like, we're going to need a little extra suds.
It's like you're getting up to 80 cents, maybe a buck. Yeah. I mean, think about this in the larger picture, and this is where my mind has to go when you talk about saving a few cents here, a nickel here, a dime there. You have to go with the big picture. How much is this going to save you over the course of a month, over the course of a year? Because that's when the numbers start adding up, and it makes this all worth it. The jury is still out as to whether I'm going to brew my own laundry soap, but I already use Extra, and so that makes me feel
what's Extra?
good. It's just a laundry detergent.
Kind of a generic
less
one?
Expensive one.
Okay.
I don't know if it's generic. It's just less expensive. I always go for the less expensive. And I also have a huge list. I compiled a list of 15 different ways to nickel and dime your way to inflation busters.
I'm taking notes.
I know, and I also want live phone calls. 801-575-TALK. 801-575-TALK. What is your best money-saving tip? That's simple. I don't want to talk about selling stuff on Facebook Marketplace or anything like that, where we have to wait at our home for somebody to show up or meet somebody in a parking lot. I want to talk about simple ways you've had your aha moment, and you've started saving money, and you're like, I need to share this on the radio. 801-575-TALK, because I am as interested as anybody else when it comes to saving money. Dave's taking notes. On the heels of Gephardt's reporting about making his own laundry soap, I'm going to add this, and I saw this online with a comment on a money-saving website. This person said they no longer use dryer sheets or fabric softener. And I took my mind back to the 1990s when I was single, looking for ways to save money, and then got married and looking for ways to save even more money. I cut out dryer sheets and fabric softener. It's $5 or $6, maybe more, for a Downy jar of fabric softener, a jug of fabric softener. But I've cut it out in the past. I happen to have some in my pantry right now that I'm using. But I'm like, I can get back to not using fabric softener. Okay, that's $5 or $6 savings right there on the grocery budget.
Do you replace it with anything,
Nope.
or you just have scratchy clothes?
You don't even know that I don't have fabric softener on my clothes. It's never bothered me. I've never noticed it. It might bother some. That's something to consider. The next money-saving tip is, Dave, write this down. Do you bake your birthday cakes, or do you buy them at the bakery?
Usually buy.
You buy them.
I've made some, and boy, they take forever to do.
Forever?
Oh, yeah, forever.
Now.
I mean, I'm decorating them. We're making it fun.
That's fun.
Like decorating
That's awesome.
football cakes. And yeah.
So a homemade from-scratch birthday cake, I'm talking you add the flour and everything. You don't use a box of cake, although you can use a box of cake mix, and they cost about $1. A homemade birthday cake from scratch, $3.50. One of the best prices I could find.
With eggs, they're now $9. But okay, that's fine. $3.50 for the birthday cake.
So, best price I could find for a more generic cake that's sitting out in the bakery, not one you special order, is $12. You special order cakes, you're talking $25, $35
$40,
even
yeah.
more. So it's a huge savings if you just lean into the homemade cake. I want to move to coffee pods because this is consuming a lot of your income if you drink coffee. You might not drink coffee, but they also sell hot chocolate pods, and they sell green tea pods for those 1-cup coffee makers. A coffee pod will cost you about 40 cents per brew, or
for a whole
hot
pot.
Chocolate. No, you get one serving out of
Oh.
this. It's a single cup serving.
Oh, okay.
Okay, 40 cents. You go to the drive-thru for coffee, it's about $3. Okay. If you invest in a coffee pot, a $65 coffee pot, and you make a pot of coffee, it's like 3.5 cents for 2 cups of coffee. So you save a ton of money. Probably the same equation close would hold true if you don't use coffee pods to make hot chocolate and hot tea with, and you decided to brew your own tea or, make your own hot chocolate.
You have to grind your own beans?
No, you can buy those pre-ground if you want to. But it's 3.5 cents. It's a significant saving. You got to buy the coffee pot to do it. Maybe.
It's an investment.
Think about that. You might be able to brew it like my grandma did on the stove or something like that. But a coffee pot, let's face it, you need a little help with that in the morning when you're getting ready for work. The other way I save money, I wrote this down, I buy generic constantly. It's a 25% savings, according to, surveys at the grocery store. You buy generic over name brand, you're going to save 25%. I actually push back on that. I recently shopped just only 3 products, like pancake mix, peanut butter and jelly, and tortilla chips. And I bought generic over name brand. I saved 40%.
Cereals?
Same thing.
Cocoa Bomb Blasties?
I am known as Lieutenant Munch around my family because I would refuse to buy Captain Crunch. I'm sure Captain Crunch is delicious. Don't get me wrong, but I bought store brand, which was like Lieutenant Munch. I don't know if that's what it's called, but that's what they call me, Lieutenant Munch. Grocery shop alone. Here's another way to save. First of all, you get through the store faster, which I think leads me to my next point. It's why it's cheaper. When when this is a family activity, it slows things down. You spend more time in the store, and everybody is voting with their bellies. Okay. Twinkies go in the cart, donuts go in the cart, all the things that weren't on the grocery shopping list. This is
cheese ball?
Yes,
Sign me
cheese
up.
Ball. Significant savings. What they found in a survey a couple of years ago is that when you shop alone, you spend about an average of $133. If you make it a family project, everybody's helping you push the grocery cart and load the grocery cart, it's going to cost you about $179.
Never shop with anybody.
If you shop alone instead of taking the family with you, and this is one of the things that really worked for me when I was learning to cut our family grocery budget to $100 a week years ago. $100 a week. I said, Mama's shopping alone. Because I think you're the problem, you're the problem, you're the problem, you're the problem. And I can stick to the list.
Okay, for an example, we went on vacation, but we were at an Airbnb. I send the kids in to get some ice cream, right? Go ahead, pick up some ice cream. There were 6 of us. How much ice cream do you think they would return to feed 6 of us?
I don't know.
You're like maybe 1 or 2 quarts. They brought 7 quarts of ice cream. Like every single person had their own flavor, and then one person got 2. So, yes, to your point, never send multiple people in to do the job.
Hi, Julia. Love talking about ways to save money and inflation busters. Thanks for calling. What's your inflation buster tip?
Well, I think it beats everything you've said about laundry. For the last 12 years, I have used a laundry ball, and it has these little tiny, it's plastic. You put it in with your clothes, doesn't damage your clothes, and it has little silver beads in it that actually break down the water, and so that it gets clean. It's fantastic.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's called
a laundry ball?
I know, it's called a laundry ball. There's all kinds out there. They're about $35.
Okay.
And to recharge those little particles inside, I just put it out in the sunshine, and it is fantastic.
Okay. I'm going to lean into that this afternoon when I get home. I'll go buy myself one. Julia, great tip. Thank you so much. Valerie and Layton, you like buying gift cards at a discount to save money, and I love this idea.
Yeah, I go online. There's different sites. Can I say the one I use? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Cardcash.com.
Okay.
And I use it mostly for restaurants. And so we decide we're going to eat at Applebee's tonight, and I'll go on there. And because you can buy e-gift cards, they email them to you within 5 minutes, and I can use it that night to go out to dinner. And it's anywhere from, there's some that are 1% off, but I stick with the ones that are 10 and up. So 10% to 30% off.
Okay.
You pay, you get the value that's on the front of the gift card when you get to the restaurant, but that's not what you paid for it.
Okay. And you've had luck with this. You haven't gotten to the restaurant and
I've
found
done
a problem?
it for years.
You've done it for years. Okay.
Years.
Well, thank you for...
And they come with a 45-day back guarantee. So if you spend it within 45 days, if the money's not on there, they give you back the money, because I had it happen once.
Okay. Valerie, thank you. Appreciate it.
It may super work. I have no idea. So I was just trying to make sure. Sorry, we're trying to fact check you on the fly here. So cardcash.com, the Better Business Bureau says it is not accredited. That does not say it is not legitimate. I just wanted to give that little bit of a qualifier. So maybe
do your research.
Yeah, do your
always.
research.
Always.
Dip your toes in the water. Don't dive all the way in before, and that just is general, general advice.
So I want to give some other tips here that I saw online from online comments. Some of these came from Reddit. Some of them came from Pinterest. A lot of people are going with the no paper towel movement. You said you went shopping for paper towels recently, Dave. How much were they costing?
$30.
For how many? Like
it does not matter how many, Debbie.
$30.
They could have said, you can take this entire row of paper towels. I'm not paying $30 for paper towels.
So that's a huge chunk out of the grocery budget.
That was
grocery store
incredible.
budget. Yeah, $30. A lot of people just using rags, cutting up old T-shirts. And there seems to be quite a few people who are like, we didn't find paper towels during the pandemic, so we decided we could live without them. And they just buy rags or they use rags, like I said, cut up T-shirts. There's also a tip that I saw on TikTok where a guy posted that he does not buy paper plates anymore. So I ran to one of the shopping websites and I found 204 paper plates for $19. And I was like, okay, that's a little bit of money. That's $20 out of my grocery budget if I was going to buy paper plates for the family. Instead, he buys paper trays. So I'm like, well, I'm going to my Sam's Club app. 750 paper trays for $21. So about the same price as 200 paper plates. You get 750 paper trays. These are like the red and white bent trays that you get when you go get a hot dog or something like that. He's like, we use them all the time for food and sandwiches and serving, and we can use them in the microwave, and they're like about the same as a paper plate, but a lot less expensive. I'm like, that's a really good idea.
Good life hack.
Hi, Kathy. You make your own bread.
Yes, make sourdough bread, and it costs about 60 cents a loaf. So it only requires 3 ingredients. Once you learn how to do it, it's super easy, and you save a lot of money doing that. And my second hack is stop shopping at Temu.
Oh, yeah.
I did my budget and realized how much I had spent on Temu versus food and everything else, those, $5 things that they get you with. It adds up.
It adds up. It adds up. And it adds up to be quite a bit every single month. I know one of my hacks is delete your credit card from your Amazon or whatever shopping app that you find yourself on too often. Delete your credit card, because if you have to put down your phone and go find your credit card and reload it, it's a barrier to purchase. And I've found
that is a great idea.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Kathy. Appreciate your phone call.
That is an outstanding tip, Debbie. There's a couple different things. Number one, Kathy, homemade sourdough. If you can manage the starter, I've always had problems keeping that starter alive or not having it go nuclear. It is incredible. I love it. And it is 60 cents a loaf. It is the cheapest bread you'll have out there. It's also my favorite. But Debbie, your tip right there of deleting your credit card information from whatever app, so that every time you buy from Amazon, you've got to go in there, pull your card out, type it in.
Find the security number.
And they're like, do you want to save this for future transactions? And you say no. Then that really, I think, makes you ask yourself the question, do I really want this purchase? Does it matter enough to me that I'm going to go out, get my wallet, pull out the card, and input all this information? And if the answer is no, then don't buy it.
So the good news is we got a lot of great tips. The bad news is I didn't get through my whole list. So guess what? We'll revisit the rest of my list like maybe next week. Nickel and diming your way to do your best to inflation-proof your budget.
It's a week of snowy weather ahead, and that can mean a slower drive when you're heading to work or on your way home. We try to make this easy. Get the latest traffic report and updated weather, one after the other. That's traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the 9s, mornings and afternoons on KSL News Radio.
Boy, right after the holidays, everyone needs a little cash, right?
Oh, yes.
We have great news for you. Right now, UCCU, Utah Community Credit Union, will pay you for your auto loan and credit balances. So all you have to do is just transfer your auto loan or your credit card balance to UCCU. And on top of giving you a low interest rate, which will save you money, UCCU will give you 1% cash back up to $250 on every loan you transfer.
Amanda, as soon as I heard about this, I said, I'm in this exact situation. I actually had to have 2 loans to get my car a year ago.
Yeah.
Long story. Got it consolidated into one, and they paid me 1% back for each thing. I've got one payment now instead of two. It's so much easier, and it took me maybe basically an hour. I just went straight to the website. I applied. They said, you got to send me these documents. I did, and all of a sudden, within a couple of days, I had it all set.
This is how easy they are to work with, always looking for ways to help you and your family. You can find out more on the UCCU mobile banking app or just go to uccu.com/transfer. Utah Community Credit Union. You're going to love where you bank.
At Intermountain Children's Health, we've created a bold plan called Primary Promise to build the nation's model health system for children. Help us achieve this once-in-a-generation vision so together we can bring the world-class care of Primary Children's Hospital closer to home for every child in our communities. For more than a century, Primary Children's has kept the child first and always. Join us for the next 100 years. To learn more, visit primarypromise.org.
Transform your old, outdated kitchen with Half Price Granite. For a limited time, Half Price Granite is offering special pricing starting at $25 per square foot installed. That's lower than most big box stores. These prices are some of the lowest around. Granite, quartz, marble, and quartzite, all starting at $25 per square foot installed. Call 801-486-1700 or visit halfpricegranite.com. Half Price Granite. Affordable luxury.
Paid for by government. Now is the time to fill your vault with Morgan Silver Bars. Grab your piece of America's silver legacy with this special offer. These spectacular shining silver bars featuring a crisp image of the iconic Morgan Silver Dollar, a legendary coin that has captivated collectors for generations. Call now to secure 1-ounce silver bars minted in 99.9% pure silver and made in the USA. Don't miss out on this special deal, regularly priced at $49.95, but for a limited time, only $39.95. Save $10 per silver bar. Limit of 25 bars per customer. The more you buy, the more you save. Up to $250 in savings and free shipping on every order. Plus, with qualifying orders, you'll receive a free Morgan Silver Dollar. That's a $59.95 value, free. Call 1-800-937-4707 now to secure your 1-ounce Morgan Silver Bars for only $39.95. That's 1-800-937-4707.
Over 3/4 of Americans will experience foot pain, and most will just live with that pain every day. But Foot Solutions in Orem is here to change that. Here's Amanda from Provo.
I am an active woman, ex-Division I basketball player at BYU. By trade, I'm a PE teacher. Over the last 2 years is when my feet really started hurting.
And that's when Amanda's life changed with a visit to Foot Solutions in Orem.
My experience at Foot Solutions was so unique to any other experience I've had. Over an hour they spent with me, really going over my specific pain points.
After discovering so many solutions and custom in-house made orthotics, what does Amanda want you to know?
Invest in your health. Don't be cheap to your feet. Living a pain-free, active life again has been worth every cent.
Just search for Foot Solutions in Orem and find out more at footsolutions.com.
I'm Amanda from Provo. I'm 47 years old, and Foot Solutions has given me back a pain-free, active lifestyle.
10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top national story this hour. President Trump continues to trim the fat on the U.S. budget. The latest from the president and Elon Musk, who are floating the idea of sharing some of their government cost savings with the public.
I love it. A 20% dividend, so to speak, for the money that we're saving by going after the waste and fraud and abuse and all of the other things that are happening.
And in Ogden, the IRS says layoffs have already started. By Friday, around 100 employees will be out of a job. We just spoke with Crystal Kirkpatrick with the local chapter of the National Treasury Employees Union. She says this is going to have an impact on your tax return this year.
You know, you're going to feel it immediately. We're getting tax returns already starting to process, and these are our folks front line that process those tax returns that we're letting go.
As many as 1,000 employees in Weber County could lose their jobs by May. About 90 minutes ago, Senator Mitch McConnell announced he won't seek re-election next year, ending his decades-long tenure. The Kentucky Republican has chosen his 83rd birthday today to share his decision to retire when his current term ends in January 2027. Your money at this moment, a big drop on the Dow, 560 points. That's 1.25% to 44,066. Coming up, the snow's been coming down, and it's been affecting the traffic all morning. Traffic and weather together is next. KSL News Time 10:31.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
We are so excited to talk to you guys about Master Electrical Service and how they've joined forces with Mountain Home Services.
And this means the list of things that they can do in your home is getting even longer. Master Electrical's been around since the 1950s here along the Wasatch Front, and you know that they can work on your electrical, whatever you like, your outlets. You need to have those replaced. You need some recessed lighting in your living room. They've been your go-to for so many years. Well, now that they've joined forces with Mountain Home Services, they can also help you with your HVAC, your heating and air, your plumbing. Oh, now think fireplaces, too.
Fireplaces are perfect, especially as I was driving in this morning in a complete and total whiteout. All I wanted was a cozy little fireplace to curl up in front of like my cat. It all comes with an upfront pricing guarantee, which means when they come out and they give you a bid, they're going to honor that bid.
That's right. And there's a 100% satisfaction guarantee as well. They're the company we trust, and so can you.
Check them out at mountainhomeservices.com. That's mountainhomeservices.com.
And their phone number is 801-543-2222. Again, 801-543-2222.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's limited time balance transfer bonus. Let's check back in with Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Well, we don't have any major delays across the Wasatch Front unless you're trying to get into a ski resort. That's going to have your biggest backups. But the snow continues to wreak havoc with the drive, especially out in Tooele County. Not a lot of plows have gone through there, and Mark Christiansen, one of our KSL traffic reporters, is out there right now saying that about 4 inches of snow is on the roadway, especially on SR 36. We do have a slide off on the on-ramp from SR 36 to go eastbound I-80. That's way off to the right, but heavy snowfall in that area. I-15 is very wet conditions all across northern Utah, including the east and west side belt routes, and pretty much anywhere else you want to go, including city streets. Lagoon is hiring full-time, year-round maintenance technicians and electricians with journeyman or apprentice-level experience. Apply online at lagoonpark.com/jobs. Must be 18 years of age or older to apply. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather right now, the snow is coming down in Salt Lake City. Temperatures at 33 degrees at the moment. Ogden also 33 and Provo 34. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
This is right up my alley. We're going to talk about what's called the singles tax. And across this country, those of us who are single, we feel this financial pain, Dave. Because according to this News Nation report, if you're renting a place and you're single, you will pay an additional $7,500 a year for a one-bedroom unit compared to couples sharing rent. Yeah, we don't get a discount because we live alone. Don't we know it? I think there are a lot of other things as well that I'm going to get into. Being single myself that I've experienced. It feels like I'm being punished for being single.
I'll tell you this, there's a married tax as well. Can I show you my honey-do list? None of that is affordable. None of that honey-do list is affordable.
Now, this News Nation report is looking at a couple of different states, or actually cities. They don't talk about Salt Lake City. But I know you feel it, right? In New York City, the singles tax is even higher than $75 a year. It's $20,000 a year. In San Francisco,
$20,000 in New York?
I was wondering where you were on that.
Holy smokes!
It's worth it though, right? It's being single in New York.
Single in New York. I think that's a classic example. Is it sounds amazing to be single in New York? Not at $20,000.
Maybe just try renting a room for a while, see if you like it there. San Francisco is almost $15,000. What's what they consider the singles tax. me see if I can get closer.
Okay, you're
to
talking
Utah.
the biggest cities in America. though.
Denver is $9,600.
Neighbor.
Yeah. San Diego, place I always wanted to live, never did.
Mm-hmm.
$12,000 almost dollars a year in a singles tax.
That's $1,000 more a month. That is incredible.
The city on the other side of the nation, which I love visiting Washington, D.C., $12,000 a year in a singles tax. And I'm like, I love all of these cities on the list. Boston, I love Boston. Love Boston.
Never been.
So much history there. Almost $13,000 a year in a singles tax. What do you think about that? Being married and all.
Well, I would imagine that this has got to largely just fall on housing, right? Housing, trying to live as a single person versus as a couple.
It's really
Is
also
that where
hard.
it plays in?
Yeah, a lot of this report does fall on housing. But let me put this in perspective. You might call it like the price of peace and quiet in your home, right? You gotta pay extra to be single. That means you're gonna have some peace and quiet in your home. Think of it this way: it is the equivalent to more than 1,300 lattes, or more than 12 years if you wanted to be on a dating app with a subscription. If you're on a dating app for 12 years, I mean, I can't say I haven't been on a dating app for a lot of years because I have, but not quite 12 years.
But this is top
tier dating apps.
Subscriptions.
We said, top tier subscriptions. 1,300 lattes. Now, you've been married a long time, so you probably forgot what it's like. 25 years. Mm-hmm. Congrats.
Yeah,
is this your silver anniversary?
Yeah,
year?
we just passed it up. We're going on 26 now.
Oh, you said you were going to go out and celebrate, or you're set to celebrate something. I don't want to give it away, but I didn't know it was for 25 years.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
So
it was 6 months ago, so I don't even remember what we did. I'm sure it was amazing.
Maybe the
unforgettable.
The thing that you've got planned is for your wife's birthday that we were talking about recently.
Whoa. Good thing she's working right now. Not listening.
Sorry. You didn't tell me it was top secret. If you didn't say it's top secret, then
it's
free.
It was off the record. It's free game.
Okay, we won't say anything more than that. So
where are we seeing the singles tax pop up?
Right there. But I will also say I can come up with other singles taxes that you don't realize. I feel like it's a singles tax. I feel like I get penalized, if you will, for being single when I go to file my taxes because I don't get the same standard deduction amount that you get being married.
Well, I get the singles tax, just I get one and my wife gets one. We get to combine them together. So we both get the exact same amount as you do. We just get to combine ours.
So if you have a capital gain situation on your hands when you sell your home, when you're single.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because you have to pay some capital gains. You don't get the same amount of you get okay, I'm gonna do my best to couch this in the right vein. But if you're single, you can get basically $250,000.
Yes.
But if you're married, you get $500,000. So let's say you bought your home for $100,000. I know you didn't. You're rolling your eyes, but that'd be great. But you sell it for $1 million. I know you didn't, but I'm pretending like you did. That's like $900,000 right there, right? So if you're married, you can lop $500,000 off the capital gains that you're going to owe. If you're single, you can lop $250,000 off the capital gains, and then you pay gains depending on how much you can deduct for improvements. You got to save your receipts for those improvements because those can kind of come off the top too. But basically, I felt like that feels like a little bit of a punishment for being single.
Oh, that's interesting. What happens if you were married and then divorced? Do you get to factor that into it with capital
now
gains?
you're asking for a CPA.
CPA
That's
question.
way above my pay grade. I'll tell you where else I feel.
That does seem like specifically punitive to singles. Like if you buy a house with your spouse and then things don't work out and then you have to sell it, if you would only get the $250,000 off when you bought it together, that seems totally like an unfair singles tax.
Well, we should get our our CPA friend Susan Spears on the line with us in the coming weeks, just before leading up to tax day, April 15th, and ask her these questions. Where do singles end up being financially punished, so to speak, because they're single? Okay, here's where I feel the singles tax a lot is food. It is really difficult to cook for one. Look, I've been cooking for decades. And then it went to like 4 as the kids started. Then I went to, and then it's pretty much just one. I mean, my daughter, my youngest daughter, I cook for her from time to time, but she's gone a lot. She's working and stuff. And anyway, it is really hard to cook for one because you have to buy in bulk. And you don't want to buy too many of one thing that's going to, go bad. So I love berries, and I shop for my berries at Costco. Well, there's a lot of berries there to eat, and berries can go bad. And so I'm like, I don't want to throw these things away. So it's either I've got a choice.
Have you ever eaten 2 pounds of strawberries?
Yes.
Like my mouth full of cankers?
Yes, and I'm checking the bottom to make sure they're not mushy or starting to show some white there. Yes, it can be really difficult. And I know I'm not alone because on social media over the years, people know I'm single, they will message me about that. It's really hard to save money cooking for one because so much is sold in bulk.
No economies of scale. I get it.
Yeah. Don't you feel sorry for us singles?
Coming up next, let's talk about the children tax and how expensive kids are. Yeah, sure. If it was just like you and your spouse, maybe you'd save some. You put kids into this, there's not a bigger financial drain in the world than a child.
But on the flip side of this is I don't have to come home and find an ATV I wasn't planning on buying in my driveway.
Oh, did we not talk about that, honey? Did we not talk about that?
I don't have to find it there. Straight ahead, hey, we've got an update on a story that we talked about last week that had quite a few Utah residents concerned. It has to do with Section 504. Utah and other states are now making it clear they don't want Section 504 protections declared unconstitutional. This is very important to parents who have children enrolled in school, and those children have disabilities. Utah Attorney General Derek Brown calling the show next to bring us an update on what's been filed in court.
The KSL News Radio Movie Show comes to My Hearing Centers Friday from 10 to 1. But first, discover what My Hearing Centers can do for you. My Hearing Centers uses advanced technology to diagnose and treat hearing loss. These comprehensive evaluations determine the best treatment options. Then enjoy lifetime support with regular check-ins, cleaning, and maintenance. Call My Hearing Centers at 801-701-1629. 801-701-1629 for more details. My Hearing Centers has offices from Ogden to St. George.
Sometimes when our furnace stops working, it's something simple we can fix ourselves, if we only knew how. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and the next time your furnace stops working, before you call a company out to fix it, try this first. Go shut the furnace down and make sure your air filter is clean. Go around the house and make sure the vents are open and there's nothing blocking the return air. If it's been a while since you've changed the batteries in your thermostat, go ahead and do that too. Then go turn the furnace back on, and if it stays on, you're probably good. If it stops working again, you're probably going to want a technician to check it out. If you don't know one, Any Hour Services has a special offer for any homeowners listening. One of our HVAC technicians will diagnose and troubleshoot your furnace for only $29. Then they'll explain what they found and present you with repair options. And don't worry, our technicians service all brands. Call Any Hour Services and let them know you heard about this $29 troubleshooting special on the radio. 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Higher taxes, soaring inflation, record low interest rates, and the skyrocketing cost of healthcare. The list goes on. Retiring successfully today is a lot more complicated than ever before. Learn how you can tackle the biggest challenges that you'll face in retirement today. Don't miss a special edition of Retirement Solutions Radio. It's this Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock, right here on KSL News Radio 1027.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Well, you might remember if you're listening to the show last week, we were talking about Section 504. Now, this is the section of the Rehabilitation Act that a lot of parents are really concerned about because Texas filed a lawsuit. Utah joined that lawsuit along with a lot of other states several months ago. And what concerned a lot of parents is they were worried that if a judge or a jury declared that section unconstitutional, their children could risk losing the resources that they need for their disability while they're in school. Well, we have an update for you. And in a moment, the Attorney General for Utah is going to join our conversation live. Attorney General Derek Brown, who spoke with us last week on the show about this, when there was public pushback about this lawsuit that had been filed. Dave, we spoke live last week to Attorney General Derek Brown, and there was a part of that lawsuit, it was on page 37 of the lawsuit, that talked about the potential to declare Section 504 unconstitutional. And as a father of a child who said actually benefited in school because of that section, you had something to say about that.
Yeah, because Section 504 does allow parents and children to work with schools to get special accommodations. So in my example, or in my situation, my son was struggling in junior high, was diagnosed with ADHD, obviously very common. And what we did is we went in and we were just having a conversation with the vice principal and talking about, okay, well, what can we do? What can we do as parents? And she brought it up to us, and I didn't know anything about the 504, like a special IEP, a individualized education plan. I said, oh, well, what this could do is maybe give him a little extra time on assignments, a little extra time while taking a test. Would that be beneficial? And we had our son with us right there, and we're like, is that something that would be beneficial? He's like, oh, yeah, absolutely. And sure enough, over the years, and this carried with him all the way through graduation, where if he needed a little extra time, the teacher would work with him individually and give him the extra time he needs. Now, there are so many different things that will qualify under 504 protections. It might be ADHD. It may be some pretty significant physical disabilities. It really is a broad umbrella that will cover a lot of different people. Now, the downside to this, if I'm a teacher, is you have a lot of kids that get special accommodations. So I have talked to teachers about this, and they struggle with having to put a deadline on something, and then you have 13 different kids that get special accommodations.
So let's bring AG Derek Brown back into the conversation. Thanks for joining the show. I know you were with us last week as parents online were commenting. You said you talked to some in person. They were concerned that this Texas lawsuit was seeking to make Section 504 in total unconstitutional. But now there's been an update to that lawsuit. Can you bring us up to speed on what that update to that lawsuit says?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, since we last spoke, I've spent the better part of the 3-day weekend working with attorneys and elected officials around the country and making sure that we protect this. I mean, this is really, as I mentioned, a really critical thing for Utah and for our kids is to make sure the 504 is protected. And we've all figured out a way to notify the court with a filing that just took place late last night that, in fact, that isn't the point of the lawsuit. There's we're looking at a Biden administration regulation, and this sort of got swept into that. And so I'm happy about the result. I think we said that we would protect Section 504, and we've effectively done it. And so to any parent that has concerns or has heard that, their 504 plans could be at risk, they aren't, and we're happy that is the result. And so, we'll keep moving forward, but we feel confident that we were able to do, essentially what we said we'd do.
So if Section 504 would not be affected in any way, what was the point of the lawsuit?
Well, the point was an executive action taken by the Biden administration where you had this Section 504 which it was a bill that was written about 52 years ago, and the Biden administration effectively said that gender dysphoria is a covered disability under that act. And so the question ultimately was whether, in fact, they had the authority to do that. Can they do that, or can Congress do that? And so that was the back and forth, is who is it that has the authority to make that determination? And unfortunately, part of this kind of got the constitutionality of the whole section became sort of an issue. And so what we really wanted to do was make sure that we did two things. Number one, get an answer on that issue of executive action, but most importantly, ensure that no one had anything to worry about on Section 504. And so that's effectively what we've done.
And in this filing, I ran to the link right away to make sure that Texas was leading the charge on this, because that state, that attorney general there was they initiated this suit. But Texas is at the top. Several other states, including Utah, listed in this. And I thought that was important since it was initiated in Texas.
Yes, and we thought that was important as well to make sure that they're at the top of that. And so, ultimately, what's interesting is the comment I got the most over the last 5 or 6 days from parents and others is, hey, Utah should just drop out of the lawsuit. Why aren't you dropping out? There was all this concern about, you need to drop out immediately. Well, the reality is when you have 17 states sitting at the table effectively, Utah has a seat at the table. And I'm not interested in leaving the table where the decisions are being made. I want to make sure that we are there protecting kids. So that was the reason that we didn't leave the lawsuit. I felt like it was really important for Utah to stay there and to maintain its place and make sure that we protected kids. So that's why we did it.
So Section 504, the lawsuit, the amended complaint makes it clear that you're not going after Section 504. However, you still want the judiciary to weigh in on gender dysphoria. Do you think, as Utah's AG, that gender dysphoria should be listed as a disability?
Well, the more important question here is if that's a policy decision. The question is who gets to make that decision. Now, that isn't the judiciary. That really should be Congress. And I think that was the real point of the lawsuit, is who gets to make that call. Is it Congress, or can an executive branch agency just do that on their own? And so that's the question that we were trying to get to the bottom of with the lawsuit. And again, this lawsuit, just to be clear, took place. It was filed before I became Attorney General, so I sort of inherited this and have been trying to work through the details. But I think ultimately the real question is, how do we protect the kids? And I think that we've done that, and that's what this filing today in effect does. And then we will continue to work on the other issue with the Department of Justice and the other states. And I can't announce anything, but I feel very confident that we'll have a resolution shortly on the issue.
Now, Section 504 typically has covered conditions such as, whether it's physical or mental impairment, ADHD, dyslexia, diabetes, asthma, anxiety, depression. It has expanded over the years, and then the Biden administration added gender dysphoria to this. So I know this has grown over the years, and I'm sure this isn't being passed every single time through Congress. I'm sure Congress is not passing a special law to add dyslexia or ADHD. Have we maybe just been adding these kind of things, the conditions that are covered over the years?
I think there have been some additions, but when it comes to gender dysphoria, there's specific language in Section 504 that makes it fairly clear that wasn't necessarily one of the things that should be up and added unilaterally by the Biden administration. And so ultimately, I think that what we're trying to get to is a decision of who is it that can make these decisions, who's empowered to make them, and once they're made, then how are they interpreted? And one of the concerns I think that has been expressed is if this were implemented, how would that affect Utah? And then if Utah didn't provide, whatever the accommodations looked like, we would have federal funding, including funding under Section 504, that would be jeopardized. And so that was one of the things in the back of our minds as we're working through these negotiations is how do we protect kids, but also protect the funding that they receive under Section 504.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time to call us, Utah Attorney General Derek Brown. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll have more on this story, but in a nutshell, there's public pushback, and Utah and other states say in an official filing in court, that they do not want a judge to declare a key part of the federal disability law unconstitutional.
It's a week of snowy weather ahead, and that can mean a slower drive when you're heading to work or on your way home. We try to make this easy. Get the latest traffic report and updated weather, one after the other. That's traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the 9s, mornings and afternoons on KSL News Radio.
Let me tell you about Advanced Garage Doors, folks. If you have a problem with your garage door, do you know who to call? Do you know who to reach out to? Do you have that garage door guy? Well, Advanced Garage Doors offers certified technicians that are available 24/7 with same-day service.
And they have a lifetime warranty on all residential doors and parts. You will have the peace of mind knowing that your garage door is always protected as long as you follow the recommendations.
In just the last year, my mom's garage door came crashing down. Fortunately, nobody was underneath it, but the spring had snapped and broken, and I started looking into it. I've replaced a spring in my garage door in the past. It was a terrible decision. It was so difficult. It was dangerous. Replacing certain garage door parts by yourself is not safe and should be done by a certified professional. That's why Advanced Garage Doors exist.
Yeah, and financing is available, so ask them about that. And you can design your dream garage door right on their website.
Just go to advanced-door.com. That's advanced-door.com.
Or the phone number. Give them a call, 801-989-3667. Again, 801-989-DOOR.
Sherry, what have you done to your hair?
What do you mean? Does it not look good?
It doesn't look good. It looks freaking amazing. I can't believe how thick and healthy it looks. Oh, I must know your secret.
No secret. It's hair volume from New Nordic.
Hair volume, huh? Well, it certainly lives up to its name. Your hair has never looked so thick. It is gorgeous.
I was so tired of having thin and brittle hair. Ugh, and the shedding. So I figured I'd give hair volume a try. Needless to say, I'm thrilled with the results. Hey, where are you going?
I'm gonna pick up some hair volume right now. My reunion's next month and I want my hair to look as good as yours.
Hair Volume is the best-selling hair tablet in the world and one of many award-winning natural health products from New Nordic, the #1 supplier of dietary supplements in Scandinavia. Purchase at newnordicusa.com or your local CVS. Available as a tablet or delicious gummy. Help your hair look full, voluminous, and beautiful again at nordicUSA.com or CVS.
Most RV dealers are already calling it quits on show season pricing, but at Bish's, we're just getting warmed up. We've extended better than show pricing now through Saturday at Bish's RV of Salt Lake and American Fork. We're bringing you one more week of better than show pricing on our entire new and used inventory, not just a few select models. And we're not talking about just one lot of epic offers. Get better than show pricing at both Salt Lake and American Fork locations. Find pricing starting as low as $139 per month on approved credit and make 0 payments until May OAC. Plus, all remaining new 2024s are on clearance. You'll also get a free 1-year RV Fix membership with every RV purchase. Your fast track to RV service repairs. And Bish's is the only place to shop the full line of Wayfinder RVs. Start shopping the best deals now at Bish's.com/Utah RVs during the extended Better Than Show pricing sale. Now through Saturday at Bish's RV in Salt Lake and American Fork, where memories begin. OAC based on 20% down, 8.99% APR for 180 months. Document numbers 84832, 84308. Subject to prior sale. See dealer for details. CL number 822B426B.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Heather Peterson. KSL's top story this hour, Utah Attorney General Derek Brown says he's filed an agreement that upholds Section 504, the law that protects people with disabilities and provides them with necessary accommodations. In September, Utah and 16 other states filed a lawsuit against the current version of Section 504. Brown says all 17 states in the lawsuit have now confirmed their intention to protect the law's benefits and accommodations. He says their lawsuit will only challenge a change made by President Joe Biden that designates designates gender dysphoria as a condition that could be protected. Utah lawmakers are estimating less money this year for the budget, and they're still hoping for tax cuts.
Estimates show state tax income is about $112 million short, meaning lawmakers have less to work with while planning the yearly budget. House Executive Appropriations Chairman Val Peterson says he wants everyone to know
this is manageable. We have different mechanisms and levers that we can work as we start to do this, but there is not as much money as we had hoped.
Senate President Stuart Adams says they haven't ruled out the cuts, but what they will look like is still being discussed. Brianna Willis, KSL News Radio.
Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Former Majority Leader Senate Mitch McConnell of Kentucky will not seek re-election next year.
Representing our Commonwealth has been the honor of a lifetime. I will not seek this honor an eighth time.
Lawmakers applauded McConnell from the Senate gallery after he spoke. Today is McConnell's 83rd birthday. Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 638 points, the S&P down 51, and the NASDAQ down 174. Coming up, rain and snow showers tapering off. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:02.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Right now at Hale Center Theater, a beloved classic by Louisa May Alcott that everybody is familiar with, delightfully comes to life on the stage. Little Women, the Broadway musical. This is something that generations have loved, the books, the movies, and now a lovingly enhanced version with the music. It's the story of the March family, and of course there are 4 very different daughters. It reaches out and touches your heart in new and masterful ways. There are so many wonderful moments, but one that particularly spoke to me when old crotchety Mr. Lawrence can't resist joining Beth at the piano to sing Off to Massachusetts. There are so many moments, the voices, the staging, the costumes you're going to love. Little Women, right now at Hale Center Theater. And coming up next, Prince of Egypt. It's time to get your tickets. Get your season tickets, too, at hct.org, Hale Center Theater.
Transform your old, outdated kitchen with half-price granite. For a limited time, half-price granite is offering special pricing, starting at $25 per square foot installed. That's lower than most big box stores. These prices are some of the lowest around. Granite, quartz, marble, and quartzite, all starting at $25 per square foot installed. Call 801-486-1700 or visit halfpricegranite.com. Half Price Granite, affordable luxury.
2 teenagers were assaulted from your neighborhood, Velasco?
People don't trust cops around here. There's a group of vigilantes out there.
Get back! Your neighborhood is on fire.
SVU, new tonight on NBC and Peacock.
Then at 10, KSL takes you inside the life of Utah's SVU detectives and the sacrifices they made.
It's changed me. It's the most difficult job I have ever done.
Utah's SVU Case Squad, tonight on KSL 5 News at 10.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's limited time balance transfer bonus. Here's Heather Kelly.
Well, we've got a crash southbound I-15. It's right on the border of Utah and Juab counties. It's about 2 miles south of where you get on the freeway in Santa Quinn at Main Street. And traffic is at a complete standstill right now because of this crash. So if you can avoid heading south out of Utah County for a while, you may want to do that. We also have a crash in the cleanup stages on the on-ramp from SR 36 in Tooele County to head eastbound I-80. That has the right lane of that on-ramp blocked as they pull a car out of the ditch that went off the road. And then you're just going to have wet, slushy, snowy roads everywhere you go across northern Utah. Just depends on which elevation you're at as to what conditions you'll see. Whipple Service Champions, your cooling, heating, plumbing, drains, and electrical specialists. Whipple that away. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
The storm decreases through the afternoon. We'll see a high of 39. Tomorrow we'll see partly cloudy skies and temperatures that rise as we head into the next week. Right now it's 34 with some light snow. I'm Heather Peterson from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio. Dave and Dujanovic, special coverage of the top national story.
How does this hit you? Up to $5,000 in a refund, a federal refund check to every taxpayer. That's the pitch we're going to talk about. That's the pitch that Elon Musk has been floating around as a payment back to Americans, as his Doge team runs around the federal agencies, slicing expenses out of their budgets, slicing personnel, like, being at the forefront of what we've seen in terms of layoffs and firings. So $55 billion so far is what they claim to have saved. And eventually, it sounds like, at least he's floating this idea, Dave, Musk wants to give some of that money back.
Yeah, they're calling it a Doge dividend, akin to a dividend check that we may receive from if you're working for a private company, the company's doing great, they want to give a little bit back to the employees, then they'll cut you a dividend check. You get a perhaps share in some of that revenue. But I'm afraid, as we all should be afraid, that it just turns into an inflation check, which is what those stimulus checks turned into. Straight up inflation. Over the last 4 years, inflation has gone up 23%. What you used to be able to buy for $83,000, that was the average income for a Utahn here. What you could buy 4 years ago for $83,000, you now have to make $102,000 because of inflation.
You got to say that again.
So we used to make, on average, $83,000.
In Utah.
In Utah. Okay. So 4 years ago, you're making $83,000 as a household. Right now, to buy the exact same stuff, you have to make $102,000 because of inflation. That's how much it has just bitten us.
Well, President Trump seems to be reinforcing or at least talking about this idea.
There's even under consideration a new concept where we give 20% of the Doge savings to American citizens and 20% goes to paying down debt, because the numbers are incredible, Elon. We're thinking about giving 20% back to the American citizens and 20% down to pay back debt and pay down debt.
So this is why I see it differently than the inflation checks that they sent out in 2020 and 2021. In a 1 year period of time, the federal government sent the average family of four $11,500.
That was through those stimulus checks.
The stimulus checks. There were 3 checks. It was like $1,200 here for every person, $600 there, another $1,200, $1,500. It turned out to be, on average, $11,400 for the average family of four.
And then don't forget, let's add to that we were reporting not long after about pretty big inflation, right? Massive inflation. Not the biggest we've ever seen, but pretty big inflation. 9%. In the wake of the pandemic and those stimulus checks. And so then we all started complaining about how high everything was priced now, and the cost of living was going up and up and up, and you can't afford groceries and you can't afford that. So my understanding and our coverage when we talked about this is that, well, when they were printing money to send those checks, that is what was driving inflation. And they've been working ever since back in D.C. to get inflation in line to that 2%. And we know, we just talked about this recently, that inflation is, coming in at over 3%, not quite where we need it to be. So I need you to paint a very clear picture as to why you think this is different than those stimulus checks. And I also, as you're listening to Dave's take on this, want you to fire up the phones if you can, if it's safe to do so. I know roads are crazy right now, but so if it's safe to do so, only 801-575-TALK. Do you see it the same way Dave does? That this is not a stimulus check, that this is a dividend check?
This is why it's different for me. Right now, let's say those $55 million or $1 billion that Elon Musk has saved. That $55 billion, 100% of that $55 billion was going to be spent. So that money was going to go into the economy. Now that he's chopped it off and canceled contracts and people have lost their jobs and they've saved $55 billion, well, if you give 20% of that back, 20% of that back to the American people, you're still saving 80% of what was going to be spent. So sure, would it be better to not spend any of that? Yeah. But you give some of that back to the American people as a dividend, as a reward, saying, folks, this is going to help you in the long term, but just to give you a little bit of taste to help choke down this bitter pill, we're going to help you participate. We're going to help you enjoy some of the benefits and give you a dividend check. Companies do this all the time. Large companies, if they're doing well or they have an influx of cash, when they do this, they will share it with their employees. Very, very common. So that's what I think they're trying to bring to the federal government, is trying to get the American people on board and say, yes, Elon, keep going, because for every 80% that you save, we get the other 20%. So we will stop fighting him and stop pushing back against him, but they will jump on board and ask for more and more because we directly benefit. I think that's the idea.
But we talk so much about the national debt. I mean, I don't even know what this number is. Is trillion? I mean, it's so
36
huge.
trillion.
It is just so huge. We've
12 zeros.
Yeah. I can't even envision that amount of money. And we've talked so much about paying down the national debt. And I was listening to what President Trump said about this.
There's even under consideration a new concept where we give 20% of the Doge savings to American citizens and 20% goes to paying down debt, because the numbers are incredible, Elon. We're thinking about giving 20% back to the American citizens and 20% down to pay back debt and pay down debt.
So it sounds like to me like I owe $10,000 on a credit card. Okay, this is just my brain.
Okay.
I owe $10,000 on a credit card, Dave, and I get a $10,000 refund check on my federal and state income taxes. That's not a true story, but that's just an example.
Okay.
And instead of saying I'm going to pay off my entire credit card, I'm going to give myself a little bit of that to spend, and I'm only going to pay down a few $1,000s of it.
You're going to spend $8,000 to pay it down, and you're still going to carry $2,000 in debt so you can take a cruise.
And I'm going to continue to accrue interest at an astounding rate of 29%. Like, why not just take all of that refund that I'm getting and put it toward my debt? I'm not saying it's going to be enough to pay off those trillions of dollars.
Right.
We don't, in fact, even know. I was reading a CNN article this morning before we came on the air, and they said that there's some claims that aren't adding up, that the media has been able to independently verify that, in fact, example that Doge has realized $8 billion in savings, and CNN reports was actually $8 million in savings. So I would love to see lots of documentation on ultimately how much money this is able to save us before we make decisions. And I know this decision is not happening tomorrow. I mean, sounds like it's got to even go through Congress, so it may not even happen at all. Before we're making decisions and we're too far out over our skis, we don't know exactly how much is being saved.
Here's the thing. We didn't get into debt overnight. and we're not going to fix it overnight. This is going to be a multi-year solution. If we're going to bring the federal budget back into some sense of normality, where it actually balances the budget, that we only spend as much as we bring in. Utah does this. They're dealing with it right now. We just talked about it earlier that revenues came in a little bit lower this year than they did last year, about $100 million less this year than it was last year. Well, we had to make $1 million or $100 million in cuts. Now, that's not a lot of money when you're talking about a $30 billion budget here in Utah, but nevertheless, we've got to figure out how are we going to balance the budget. Right now, we spend $1.8 trillion more than we bring in the federal government. So we've got to cut trillions of dollars, not billions. So we got to figure out a way to keep this momentum going where the American people are still excited about the cuts, because when the cuts are happening, and we're seeing it happen right now, this is affecting real lives. Real people are losing their jobs. They're losing their careers, and that is devastating. That, because it's devastating, doesn't mean it's not the right thing to do. Did we think that balancing the budget was going to be painless? Did we think people weren't going to lose their jobs, that contracts weren't going to get canceled, that there wasn't going to be struggle? Of course there was going to be. But we have to do it to balance a budget.
We're going to take your live phone calls. Would you support a Doge dividend payment? It says up to $5,000, and it's just being floated right now. Caught this article on Fortune magazine on their online website, fortune.com. Dave flagged it, said he wanted to talk about it, so here we are talking about it. Do you feel like you buy Dave's argument that this time it's different than the stimulus checks? Would you say an average of a family of four got $11,000 in stimulus money?
Yeah.
Once the pandemic broke out, $11,000 in stimulus money. We've reported extensively that inflation is at least partly, if not largely, to blame.
From federal spending.
Yeah, from that spending.
No question.
801-575-TALK. Do you agree with Dave? Would you like a Doge dividend check? Do you support the idea, at least in theory, while we're talking about it? We took calls earlier in the show, and I have to tell you, the phone lines just lit up, and we were not able to get to everybody's phone call because it was just crazy in the control room. They're getting so many phone calls. So here's your chance. If you missed a chance earlier to say your piece about this, this is your opportunity. I want to also bring up something that I want to talk a little bit more about, something you just brought up, Dave, which is the layoffs, the firings, the severance packages that people were offered when they got, federal workers were offered when they got that fork in the road email, and I think 70,000+ of them ultimately accepted that buyout, which pays them through September, but they don't have a job, right? They don't have a job in the federal government, at least not one right now. Is there any irony at all in this, that people are losing their jobs over here, which I feel badly about? I cannot imagine what is happening to our friends in Utah, to our families who listen to the show, where you get the email all of a sudden, or your boss calls you and says you're one of them. You lose your health benefits, you lose your pay. It's just, my stomach hurts when I think about that, getting that phone call or getting that email to jump onto a Teams call or a Zoom call. And now we're talking almost in the same breath about sending dividend checks to American taxpayers, $5,000. We know likely, that those people will have to apply for benefits. Maybe they'll file a jobless claim and they'll have to be on benefits. They won't be spending the money that they're earning. They'll have to go fish around for new health care coverage. And yet we're talking, almost like I said, in the same breath about a refund or a dividend check. That's not, I don't want to just gloss over that at all. Yeah. And I know you don't either.
No, it's real people losing real jobs, families that are devastated. We can't empathize enough with that, right? Because I think we all have that fear. But the private sector does this all the time. All the time they will have a reduction in force. They will slim up their staff to make the company more profitable. And when the company becomes more profitable, they may choose to share some of those profits with the remaining employees because they're acknowledging, hey, listen, I know we've fired a bunch of folks, and that's put a more of a burden on your shoulders. We appreciate that. The company's doing well. We want to share some of that. I don't see any difference between what the private sector does and what's happening right now.
Well, the phone lines are firing up again. Hi, Sue. It sounds like you're not in favor of this idea.
No, it makes me sick to think that I would benefit from the loss of other people's jobs. I think I know it has to be done, but the rest of us shouldn't be benefiting from people losing their jobs. I think the whole amount should go to paying down the debt. It just sounds like President Trump is trying to buy his way into having us go along with this program.
Thanks for your call, Sue. Let's flip over to Ned in West Point. It sounds like you're in favor of this idea.
Hi there. Yes, I am. I think it's a real big balance between morale and budget, and we have to consider the fact that during the pandemic, when we got our refund checks, or the stimulus checks, we really didn't have anything to spend it on. Everything was shut down. So now that we have the opportunity to invest money back into the economy and hopefully keep some semblance of morale up, I think it's a different situation.
Thanks, Ned. Appreciate the call.
Yeah, I look at it and I say we have to look at the bottom line. And if DOGE returns 20% to the American people, if they return 20% of money that obviously we don't have, we're still saving 80% theoretically. And that is a win. And we have to stay motivated and excited about the government finding waste, fraud, and abuse. And if they continue to find waste, fraud, and abuse, we should celebrate that. And it's a difficult morale thing. You know, you got to keep the American people excited about this because on the other side, you have real people losing jobs. You have neighbors, you have family members. You yourself may be losing this job. So it'll draw the energy from this program, which is absolutely necessary. I think most of us agree we should have a balanced budget in the federal government. We should not be deficit spending almost $2 trillion a year.
Hi, Gary.
Hello.
Not in favor of this, huh?
I'm not. I like your comment about your $10,000 credit card. I think if I'm going to be receiving money from someone who's lost their ability to take care of their family, I don't want a penny of it. It needs to go completely to reducing the debt that we're leaving for our kids and our grandkids. And I just couldn't feel good about someone losing their job because I want a few dollars.
Yeah,
Gary, I appreciate that phone call. And I think that's where we're struggling. Trying to figure out whether or not this is a good idea, a practical idea. Let me use that $10,000 credit card debt example, Debbie, and let me throw a little twist on it. If you have $10,000 of credit card debt and you have to bite it off in chunks, and because how do you stay motivated to work the extra hours to pay down that credit card? And if I said, listen, at $5,000, once we pay off $5,000 of that credit card, I'm going to we're going to go out and we're going to celebrate that we've cut our credit card in half. You would justify that, right? You would justify, say, hey, you know what? You've earned it. You've done an amazing thing. You've cut your debt in half, pat you on the back, go ahead, have a night out on the town and celebrate. And then you get back to work again. And then we try to cut the remaining $5,000. I think that's what they're trying to do right now is you're going to have some payoffs along the way where we feel this happening. Because right now it's just paper. It's just, oh, well, we're only spending, a 1.7 trillion instead of 1.65 trillion. It's hard to feel the progress there. But I think the DOGE dividend, that's something that we would feel, because we'd be getting a check.
It's a week of snowy weather ahead, and that can mean a slower drive when you're heading to work or on your way home. we try to make this easy. Get the latest traffic report and updated weather, one after the other. That's traffic and weather, together every 10 minutes on the 9s, mornings and afternoons on KSL News Radio.
I've actually done this. I'm glad Connecticut has brought this up before because I've actually run this experiment. I've had a water heater run with hard water, and then I've had it run with a Connecticut water softener. And I will tell you, my hard water heater, the one that just had hard water running through it, it broke in just under 3 years. Now, the soft water heater I had, it was 7 years and counting. I had to move my house and the water heater was still going. That's how much life I feel the Connecticut water softener breathed into my expensive appliances. And anyone that has had to replace expensive appliances, you just never plan for that. It's just money that you don't have. So my wife and I really looked at Connecticut as an investment into the long-term health of our home. And the Connecticut water softener uses 2/3 less salt than other water softeners. So the way it's designed, it's all mechanical. It doesn't have this complicated reset computer if the power goes out. It works. Our appliance lasted longer. And I think you ought to consider it. Give Connecticut of Utah a call. They're an authorized Connecticut dealer, 801-576-8600, 801-576-8600, or you can check them out online at softwaterutah.com.
For 70 years, we've been known as the Humane Society of the United States. But as the challenges animals face have grown, so have we. We are now called Humane World for Animals. And if you love animals, you're part of our world. Humane World for Animals. The end of animal cruelty.
William is one of millions of Americans who uses GoodRx to save on the cost of their prescriptions.
My oldest daughter, Camilla, 2 days old, she had to have open heart surgery. All of a sudden, she's on 5 different medications. It adds up at the end of the month. Me and the pharmacist got so tight. She said, GoodRx save you a lot of money. Saving that extra $200-300 a month. We're able to do all these extra activities, so it puts less stress on our household, and it puts less stress on our pockets.
Download the free app or visit GoodRx.com and start saving today. GoodRx user compensated for their time. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance.
The system is rigged against you. There's a lot of money to be made keeping you overweight and unhealthy.
At Soda Weight Loss, we have one goal, and that's to help you let go of the weight for good, without shots, without drugs, without hunger.
So I lost 25 pounds. I was never hungry. It was very, very easy. I couldn't believe how fast the weight came off.
With Soda Weight Loss, you get real results that will last your whole life.
I am down 26 pounds in 3 weeks. Feels great. I fit into my clothes again.
Soda Weight Loss is the #1 weight loss center in America for client satisfaction and results. And we have the proof at sodaweightloss.com.
Right now, for a limited time, 2 people can start with soda for the price of 1 for new clients only.
Double the reward, double the motivation, half the cost.
Get healthy. Beat the system. Visit sodaweightloss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com. Soda Weight Loss is, say it with me, state of the art.
The Management Minute is a service of the MBA program in the John M. Huntsman School of Business at Utah State University. I'm Professor Scott Hammond. I do volunteer search and rescue. Uninformed people often assume that the biggest danger in the backcountry are bears, rattlesnakes, or mountain lions. I have to explain that these are Hollywood-created false fears. There are less than 12 bear attacks per year in all of North America and very few deaths. The real dangers are dehydration, falls, hypothermia. Pretty simple, pretty basic. When starting a business, there are false fears too. The real dangers are simple: insufficient funding, missing your target market, and a skilled labor shortage. Pretty simple, pretty basic. Learn more about the basics of building a business with an MBA from Utah State University. Go to utahstatemba.com. That's utahstatemba.com. I'm Scott Hammond. Hope to see you in one of our classes.
It's 11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Verl Johansson. KSL's top local story this hour, a West Jordan man will be spending the next 7 years in prison after being sentenced in federal court. KSL.com reports Randall Walker pleaded guilty to distribution of child pornography in October 2024 in exchange to having 2 other charges dropped. After finishing his time in prison, Holland will spend the rest of his life under supervision. The Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square announced it'll be heading to Brazil next year. It's part of the choir's Songs of Hope World Tour. The choir is currently in Peru and will be performing on Saturday. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The Trump administration is investigating how the money set aside to build a high-speed rail line in California was spent. ABC's Alex Stone reports.
California's so far non-existent high-speed rail trains running from L.A. to San Francisco were supposed to have been up and running years ago. It's a project long pushed by Democrats and loathed by Republicans who use it as an example of wasted money. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy at LA's Union Station announcing there will be an investigation into how federal money has been spent on the project.
To initiate a compliance review of funding to the California High-Speed Rail Authority.
The plan for it running from LA to San Francisco has shrunk to Merced to Bakersfield. Alex Stone, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 650 points. Coming up, we've got on again, off again snow showers plaguing the rest of the state. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time, 11:31.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Is your financial advisor offering you up to a 30% upfront bonus? Are they promising you up to 10% growth per year guaranteed for your retirement income? If not, you need a new financial advisor. I'm Jeff Jr., founder of Trajan Wealth. If you plan to retire within the next 10 years, don't wait only to find out it's too late. I've seen hard-working folks like you retire only to be required to go back to work, all because their advisor told them guarantees like these were too good to be true. They're not. That's up to $30,000 up front or up to $10,000 per year on $100,000, all guaranteed for retirement income. Don't work when you're supposed to be retired. And if any financial advisor tells you it's too good to be true, they simply don't have the options we do. Call Trajan today at 801-899-7600.
Annuity guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company.
Any Hour Services can help you make sure your furnace keeps you warm this winter. Whether you need a tune-up, a repair, or a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's limited time balance transfer bonus, and we've got emergency traffic. Ricky Meese.
We do want to give you an update of what's happening in Utah County on southbound I-15. Had an earlier accident in the Santaquin area just past that. That crash has been cleared. All lanes are open, and those delays are finally clearing out. You still may run into some residual slowdowns right now. We have traffic just coming to a standstill, and this is going to be eastbound to I-80 as you're approaching I-215's west belt due to an accident blocking a left lane. Remember, we have a lot of slide-offs, especially in higher elevations, where we have restrictions in place for big and little cottonwood canyons. But with this weather, make sure you slow your speeds, allow proper following distance, have your lights and wipers on. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Well, we're going to see off again and on again snow and rain throughout the rest of the day. High of just 39 degrees. We'll heat back up as we head into the weekend with Monday's high expected to get all the way to 57 degrees. Right now it's 33 degrees and a bit snowy outside. I'm Verl Johansson from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
So picture this, Dave. I wake up this morning, the alarm goes off at about 4:45. I look out the window, I don't see any snow on the roads. I'm like, yes, I'm golden. I'll be able to make my drive in from South Jordan without any incident. Then I go downstairs to feed the cat and get a glass of water, and I see the snowflakes are starting to fall. I go into a panic mode. I run upstairs. I get ready. I leave the house, just before 6 o'clock, and I'm trying to beat the snowflakes in because I hate the lake effect snow while I'm driving in. And I cannot see the lines on 106 South. I cannot see the lines. So now it looks like I may be having some sort of an episode in the car as I'm trying to drive. And I cannot stay in my lane. In fact, at one point I cross over into the bike lane. I'm like, thank goodness they canceled the bike to work day today because there's no cyclists on the road at all in the snow. What is going on? Where are the lines?
Well, that was your experience. Let me tell you about my experience, Debbie. I woke up in Syracuse, and I looked out, and I couldn't see out my window because it was a complete and total whiteout. So instead of getting into my vehicle, my four-wheel drive vehicle, I hooked up the dog sled, and I did-a-rotted it all the way into work. And also, we too could not find the lines.
So it was more rain than snow on my commute in, and with the street lamps on still, of course, it's dark of night. It feels like it might as well be midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning. I think the lines, the glare and everything just blinded me from the lines.
I'm driving by Braille. I'm like feeling my way rolling down the windows, feeling the rails. It really is difficult. And this is something that the Utah Division of Transportation has been for years, trying to figure out the best way to make these lines visible, because whether they're just covered up with snow or it's wet and rainy and you've got the glare and it's dark, it is a nightmare. They know about it. They're trying to fix it. So let's figure out what's the latest, greatest technology out there to help us see lines. John Gleason from UDOT is joining us. And John, I don't know if you did the dog sled into work like I did, but it was an experience.
Hey, Dave. Hi, Debbie.
Hey.
I actually live off of 106, so I probably take the same route.
We could have commuted in this
Debbie
morning.
takes.
Yeah, you could have been doing the traffic lane weave right with me, John.
I saw the lines, but that's just me. So I think, anytime you have weather like today, and especially rain, and if it's dark, I think both of you said that you get that glare, and it cuts down on some of the visibility. It's definitely something that we're working on to improve visibility, especially in these poor weather days. But it's not an issue that we face alone. We work with DOTs across the country that are dealing with the same issue in these same type of climates. We get people all the time that say, hey, they do it better in Minnesota. And then, we look at the comments in Minnesota that say, I just came from Utah and they know how to do it and you guys don't. And so I think it's something that we all share. Right now, the good news is that we're in the middle of a $26 million project that we started 2 years ago to update the striping on I-15, I-215, I-80, all of those big routes there in Utah County, Salt Lake, Weber, Davis, East Summit, just all across the Wasatch Front here. And what it is, we're putting down contrast striping, and that's the white line directly followed by the black line, the tape, that really makes it pop out and stand out for people. And in those areas that we've already completed, we've had a lot of great feedback, but there's always more work to be done.
One of the things I've seen over the years, and I'm sure you could speak to this, John, are the little reflective tabs. Sometimes states will use these little reflective tabs that they put on the ground. Why don't those work here?
Well, my parents live in Arizona, and they do a great job down there. They don't have the same type of weather conditions that we do. And so the plows, where they're essential for keeping our roads plowed and safe for everybody, they wreak havoc on our striping. And so they shear off the paint, they shear off the tape. And so that's why we always have to go in and refresh them once every year. Good news on that front, about 2 years ago during the 2023 legislative session, the legislature allocated $6 million per year towards maintaining our striping. So that's in addition to the maintenance funds that we already use, and on top of that one-time $26 million project. This is something that's going to continue on year after year. So it's definitely a focus. We understand that it's not perfect, and we're always working with private industry, with other states, to see what the latest technology is, what the newest methods of putting down the most visible striping, and that's something that we'll be committed to continuing.
John Gleason with UDOT Live on the line with us. We're talking about a complaint. We see it here on our text line too, John. So it's not just me complaining about not being able to see the lines. But people, in some areas, you just cannot see the lines when you're driving, whether the roads are wet or they're certainly snow covered. You wouldn't be able to see the lines. But I noticed it this morning driving on 106 South into work. John said he drives that same road. He didn't notice it.
Better
I'm
eyes.
going to jump in your car
Jenny,
next time, John.
I will tell you, I was on Bangor the other night when it was raining, and I had the same issue, and it is frustrating, and we want to make sure that people feel safe out there. And so, I would tell people to slow down, of course.
Yes.
But if it's a road that, if you can't see the striping, it wouldn't be a bad idea to get off, but we are working on it, and we understand that is it's an unsafe feeling, and so we want to make sure that we're doing everything that we can, and unfortunately the foolproof technology doesn't yet exist, but we're working on it.
But you said there is some limited success in some areas on some roads, John?
Yeah, on I-15, it's called contrast striping, and basically, sometimes, especially in October and when the sun's lying a little bit lower, on concrete especially, you have a hard time because the white lines tend to kind of drone into the whiter surface of the concrete pavement. And so if we put down the black contrast, that really helps the lane marking stand out. And that's what we're doing with most of the new striping materials that we're putting down now have some type of contrast.
Well, John, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. John Gleason with UDOT.
Okay, I will say that when I got on I-15, I didn't feel that same pressure to get my car in between the lines. I felt it on 106 South. I felt it in other areas. But the difference is, at that time of day on 106th, it's not as busy as it is on I-15. And when I'm in this situation, I rely heavily on the guy in the truck in front of me to guide me. You know what I mean? To take me by the bumper and make sure that I stay between the lines.
I was trying to do that. I was trying to use the red lights, straight ahead of me, except they were going Mach 9. They were driving 1,000 miles an hour, and I'm not keeping up with that.
Sound off. 801-575-TALK. 801-575-TALK.
I would love to hear from somebody that has experienced. I just kind of chuckle when John said, oh, yeah, Montana says, oh, Utah's got it figured out. But then Utahns are like, have you ever been to Montana? Because I think they have it figured out. What's the best striping? Is there a great idea out there that we're just not using? I would love to hear from you.
It's called tracks.
You know what you need to do is get on a train, buddy. That's what you want to do. Give us a call, 801-575-TALK. We'd love to hear, what is your solution? Trust me, we'll pass it right along to John Gleason of UDOT. We will revolutionize this bad boy. If you have the solution, we want to hear from you. 801-575-TALK.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Park Lane Senior Living is transforming the transition to senior living into an exciting and enjoyable experience. With thoughtfully designed apartments, all-inclusive dining, and just the right level of support, it's senior living with a resort-style touch. Family advisor Shanda Thompson joins us with more.
Are you ready to embrace a lifestyle of comfort and ease? At Park Lane Independent Living in downtown Salt Lake, we offer a vibrant, welcoming community that makes life simpler and more enjoyable. Transitioning to senior living can feel overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. Park Lane provides a bright, luxurious environment designed for seniors who want to live fully and independently. Our beautiful 80-foot atrium filled with natural light and palm trees offers a relaxing space to unwind. Enjoy chef-prepared meals in our on-site restaurant, connect with neighbors through live music and inspirational speakers, or join experiences through our exciting monthly events tailored to your interests. With maintenance, utilities, housekeeping, and transportation all taken care of, you'll have more time to focus on what you love. As a special offer, mention this program to receive $1,500 off your first month's rent.
Come see what makes Park Lane Senior Living a welcoming and uplifting place to call home. Schedule a visit to see if it's the perfect fit for you or your loved one at stellarliving.com. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Fall in love with your home comfort this season and save money too. A $29 heating system tune-up from Yes Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric is the best way to ensure your HVAC system is operating at top efficiency. Boost your comfort and help prevent expensive breakdowns by calling the experts at Yes today for your $29 heating system tune-up. Trust the pros at Yes to keep your family comfortable. Call now or visit theyesmancan.com for details, terms, and conditions.
Dave, and Dujanovic.
We were just talking to the Utah Department of Transportation's John Gleason about, I wouldn't say it's like a big complaint, but I just want to know, where are the lines on the road when the roads get wet like they were this morning and it's dark outside and there's a lot of reflection from the street lamps, and I cannot see the lines. And so therefore it looks like I might be having some sort of a medical episode while I'm commuting into work. I was weaving accidentally into the bike lane, so grateful they canceled or postponed the bike to work day today because of the weather. It was crazy. And you notice the same thing when you drive in wet conditions when you come from up north. I was on 106 South.
Well, not only was I dealing with reflection, wet roads, and that is miserable alone, but I had, I don't know, a couple inches of snow on the road. It was just impossible to drive in. It was very scary. I was driving so slowly. And then other people apparently have Superman vision where they can just see through the snow, and they're passing me at 65 miles an hour. They're having no problem staying on the road. Again, they're just much better drivers than I am, as Superman would be. But I couldn't see, and I'm driving, and it was terrifying. So what's the solution? What's the better striping solution? Is it out there? Does it exist? Because UDOT says, no, it doesn't exist. I wish it did, but we're trying to figure out, do you or have you seen an unbelievable striping program in your state, in your
travels,
old travels, that is just the world's greatest thing in the history of life?
Hi, John.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. I see that you once lived in Texas. I once drove through Texas, but it was the heat of the summer, and I wanted to cry. I mean, it felt like I was driving in Texas and still driving through Texas and still driving through Texas. So I don't know if I'd want to drive through. Does Texas even get snow?
They do. Mostly upwards of Dallas area, like the more northern part of Texas, but even then, it's not anything like us.
Okay, so
I lived in Texas for 22 years.
Oh,
and it
wow!
snowed 3 times.
3 times.
So,
but it rains.
Yeah.
It rains once in a while,
flurries.
right? It rains in Texas.
Yeah.
Do they have a striping solution that we can present on your behalf to UDOT?
So they had 2 different striping solutions. One that the snowplows would shear off, and they're very shallow, but they would get sheared off. But they also had another one where they would actually embed it below the surface, and it would have reflectors, just like the same stuff they use for signage. so that you can use different colors on it.
Ooh.
And sometimes they'd only put one reflector, and sometimes they put like 3 or 4. So instead of a whole line, like the white line or whatever, they put 3 or 4 to replace the one line.
Yes.
And sometimes they still paint the line, but it works so well in the wet weather because you can't see the line in most weather conditions when it's wet, unless it's like sunshine out. So if you can see those reflectors, it helps a whole lot to stay on the road, and you don't have to worry about the snowplow shearing them off.
So it's embedded, it's underneath the road, and then how do they smooth it over the top? Do they do like some sort of epoxy fill to smooth the road?
Yeah, so it's I don't know if it's I'm assuming it's an epoxy of some kind, but they usually, if you look at them, they're bigger than they appear when you're driving over them. They're elongated so that you can see them from a small distance. And they use like a prism/paint technology so that they reflect off your headlights really well. And you can see them from quite a distance.
Well, we're going to have to take a road trip, Dave and I, to Texas to check this out ourselves. Thanks, John. Appreciate it. He lived in Texas for a long time, now lives in Utah, and says there's a solution out there. He thinks that might work.
That's kind of an exciting thing. I do know, as we were talking to UDOT, they say the biggest problem we have right now is our snowplows. Those big, heavy snowplows with the big shovels on the front, it just rips stuff up.
The plows, where they're essential for keeping our roads plowed and safe for everybody, they wreak havoc on our striping, and so they shear off the paint, they shear off the tape, and so that's why we always have to go in and refresh them once every year.
And John has talked about this for years. We are trying to figure out what is the perfect striping, and one that they're doing right now is called contrast striping. And what that is, and oddly enough, Debbie, I used to actually stripe lines. I like to tell people, what did you do in your past life, Dave? I used to stripe lines. So I know a little bit about this. And what we would do when we were striping lines is when you're mixing the paint, we would throw in handfuls of reflective beads. And you would throw it in the paint so when you lay it down, not only do you have the yellow paint, but you have these reflective beads throughout all of it. And that kind of reflects off the headlights. So what contrast striping is, it's the yellow lines or the white lines, whatever they might be, and then directly after that, I think they call it tiger tailing. Directly after that, they will do a black line. So you'll have white line immediately by a black line, and that helps create, I guess, some sort of visibility issue, because otherwise it can kind of blend in sometimes. So I don't know. That's kind of the best thing that they've found so far is this contrast striping.
Well, what I feel good about is I'm not the only one going through this. Like, it's something I'm out there trying to make it into work. It feels like the middle of the night and I can't see the lines. We've actually gotten text messages as well saying, I can't see the lines. My drive was on 106 South from daybreak to I-15. Once I hopped on I-15, things were pretty smooth sailing, although super wet and slick this morning. But there were a lot of other cars, and that's usually what my secret sauce is to cure this problem that I have is I get right behind somebody else. Superman, as you say, with that X-ray vision, who can see where they're going, because otherwise it compounds itself too, because I'm like, now I'm getting nervous. I can't see the lines. Where are the lines? Not a big deal if there's nobody else on the road, but where it is a big deal is when you're coming up on one of these like lifted center medians and you've kind of crossed over too far. Oh, man, I'm so afraid I'm going to clip my front tire on one of those things. This texter at 57500 says, I think either highlighter yellow or glow-in-the-dark stripes would help. Still got the problem with the plows, though. The plows come over and they just scrape that top layer off, right?
And I didn't realize this, but he said they refresh these annually. They go in once a year. It costs millions and millions of dollars to do so, but they go in there and they try to repaint, and keep up to date, but there's no question. You're talking about hundreds of thousands of miles worth of roads and striping. It is very difficult to stay on top of this.
And obviously the weather, the continued snowfall in some areas, and looks like wet roads out here at Broadcast House in Salt Lake City is going to be a big story throughout the day. Keep it right here with Maria. She'll have the latest. And also, of course, this afternoon with Jeff Kaplan and his team of reporters and producers staying on top of today's snowfall.
It's a week of snowy weather ahead, and that can mean a slower drive when you're heading to work or on your way home. We try to make this easy. Get the latest traffic report and updated weather, one after the other. That's traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the 9s, mornings and afternoons on KSL News Radio.
I promise you this is not a Ghostbusters commercial, but who are you going to call if your garage door stops working, or if it falls off the track, or if you have a spring bust? Let me tell you about Advanced Garage Doors and why you should use these guys.
That's right. They got certified technicians who are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, which is great for you. If there's a problem, you know you can call Advanced Garage Doors, and they will give you same-day service.
There's a couple of things that I love about Advanced Garage Doors. They offer a lifetime warranty on all the residential doors and parts. You just have to keep their recommendations. And then the second thing is, for any garage door or motor that they install, it's going to include a free inspection and tune-up once a year.
And don't forget, financing is available, and you can design your dream garage door right on their website.
200,000 cycle rollers. So you know you're using top-of-the-line equipment there, 200,000 cycle rollers. Go ahead and reach out to Advanced Garage Doors. Their website is advanced-door.com. That's advanced-door.com.
And their phone number is 801-989-3667. Again, 801-989-DOOR.
Stop for a moment and think about this. Do you know how much money in your 401k or IRA is actually yours? Or will the government take a bigger chunk than you thought? Remember, you still might owe taxes on that money. But do you have a plan to help make sure you don't pay more than you should? At Capital Wealth Advisors, we believe you deserve to keep more of what you've earned, which is why we're here to